My mom cheated and now my uncle is my stepfather. But what she said next really blindsided me.
Wait, uncle is my Wait, was there cheating within the family?
Interfamily cheating, Samuel. My mom, 45 female, and my dad, 46 male, got divorced when I, 22 female, was 14 years old. Their marriage ended because my mom cheated on my dad with my uncle, my dad's brother. Hear me out. They probably look similar.
Yeah. Oh, honey, I thought that was you.
It was chaos. My uncle was pretty much disowned from the entire family. Wow. They got married and had my cousin brother, 5 male.
What a messed up family tree.
I do not talk to my mom that often. I do not express it, but I loathe her for destroying 2 homes because she had to be a cheater.
She had to get those rocks off.
I've lived with my dad mostly, my biological dad. He is an amazing father and has always prioritized me, unlike my mother, who settled outside of the town with her new family. So since then, it has been me and my dad. 3 years ago, he started dating Sarah, 40 female. I love Sarah. She's an incredible human. She's now pregnant with my little sister or brother. Congratulations.
Regular stepbrother.
Yeah, no cousin. I've noticed how happy my dad has become since dating Sarah. I would say even more than he was happy with mom. I mean, didn't sound fun. Their marriage wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either. Probably because of my mom's partying habits. But my parents lived as a civil union until now, but dad and Sarah decided that it's best that they get married soon because a new baby is on the way, of course.
Nice.
My grandfather wanted a big ceremony for this, so we've been busy with the wedding preparations. Suddenly, I get a voicemail from my mom.
Uh-oh, this is trouble.
It was weird because even though we talk on the phone, she never sends me a voicemail. I played it, and turns out it was actually addressed to my dad. She was drunk and crying the entire time. She said that it was a mistake and to forgive her.
Yo, man's moved on. Let him be happy.
She never meant to sleep with my uncle, and she only did it because she was angry with my dad.
That makes it worse.
She's not happy with my uncle because she always has my dad in her mind. She named her son the name my dad picked when he said he would use that name if they ever had a son together.
Desperate much.
I realized this must be a mistake because my dad and my name start with the same letter, or maybe she was just so drunk she just accidentally sent me the voicemail. I played it to my dad. He looked angry at first, but then he just looked disappointed. I asked him what he wants me to do. He said I should delete it. I was confused. He further explained that my mom is in the past now. She has her own family. If this voicemail gets leaked, she could lose the only people who are in her life right now. And he doesn't want to create tension in her life by exposing her.
What a great
literally
guy.
She just blows up his life and he's like, no, I will not return fire. She already had her fair share of insults from the family and friends since her affair was exposed. Also, they have a child together and it would be traumatizing for the child too. But I think that my uncle needs to know what my mom is up to now. So would I be the a-hole if I share this voicemail to my uncle, who is unfortunately my stepdad, or should I just listen to my real father? Ladies and gentlemen, there is an update, but
we're gonna get to find out.
the question has been posed.
Would you share it to Uncle Dad? I would say no, sir. I don't think you share it just because like Uncle Dad made his bed, let him sleep in it. Like I don't think he deserves the information from OP. And I don't think it really helps OP to get mixed up in it. I'm pro just deleting it and burying it and never speaking about it again. Like don't be the one that accept the bad marriage.
Well, let's see.
Oh God, what's gonna happen?
Hello guys. I wanted to give you an update from my previous post. I took your advice and deleted it. I know it will not do anyone any good. My dad said that he will talk to Sarah about it, so I just stayed out of it. The next day, my mom called me to say that she was sorry. She was drunk off her ass and spewing nonsense. She asked me if my dad listened to it. I said yes, but that he told me to delete it. I also told her firmly that she should stop acting like a teenager when she is the mother of 2 kids. Did she really think her little stunt will work? I told her it was her decision to cheat and leave dad. She doesn't deserve a pity party after my dad had moved on. She said she understood and thanked me for deleting the messages. I thought that was it.
I thought it was, is it not?
Today we were having lunch. My whole family was with us, including our grandparents. My uncle's stepdad came in screaming, demanding to see my dad. My mom was with him trying to get him out of our property. When my dad came, he literally jumped on my dad, telling him he was a homewrecker and calling him all sorts of names. Apparently, he'd found the voicemail on her phone. Not just that, he found several voice notes of her drunk confessions that she still loves my dad and hope that they can work this out.
He found the voicemails on her phone.
On her phone.
So why is he mad at dad?
Things turned ugly real quick. My uncle dad was not having it and said he has no right to break his family. He is already the reason why he, my uncle, is disowned from the family.
Your actions are the reason.
My real dad, who always stays calm, raised his voice saying he has no interest in him or his sloot of a wife. Uncle dad also accused him of paternity fraud, saying that his kid is not actually his, but belongs to my real dad because he is sure that my dad and mom had an affair 5 years ago, which resulted in my brother. My mom was saying that it is not true. My dad told him he is happy to do a paternity test if that gets him off of his back. He wants nothing to do with him or his wife. My other uncles kicked both of them out. My uncle dad threatened to take my dad to court and sue for child support. How dumb are you?
What?
Well, this whole thing upset Sarah. She thought it was really disrespectful and she wants some peace. She has no energy to deal with these shenanigans. I get that. My dad is willing to make it up to her. I'm sure she doesn't believe a word my uncle says. My dad is pissed, and there was some family discussion where they said, this witch has ruined more than 2 lives. I am really ashamed of my mom. I sometimes wish she wasn't my biological mom.
Those are some big words.
I have blocked her. I only keep in contact because of my brother, but nothing more. And a quick edit, I think I should clear it out that she sent me the message from a messaging app. I forgot that most people think a voice message and a voicemail is different, but I always thought they were the same. My God, what do you think about this? I mean, truly, what do you do? How do you continue relationship with your mother if you do it?
I don't think you do. I don't think you do. At least for me, I wouldn't. So many bridges have been burned. I mean, I don't think OP or dad could do anything different though. Besides maybe dad marrying someone different all those years ago.
Yeah.
That's the thing you could have done.
Boink in the wrong
Maybe
boink.
Pick better. But yeah, what that woman is a witch and deserves to be burned at the stake.
Sam's moving to Winston-Salem.
All right, see you guys soon.
My aunt is having an affair with her best friend's husband, but my family refuses to intervene.
Someone stop this lady.
Guys, it's time to intervene. She be cheating. So, this may be long, and I'm sorry if so. I just have been sitting on this for so long, and I need advice. I'm going to break down the 4 people important to this story below for ease. My aunt, the cheater. Let's call her April. My uncle, the victim, who we'll call Kurt. My aunt's BFF, another victim that we'll call Sasha. And the BFF's husband, who's also a cheater, who we'll call Mark. So we've got April, the cheating aunt. Kurt, the victimized uncle. The BFF, Sasha, and her husband, Mark. By the way, this comes from user cinnamongirl098 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, small backstory. April and Sasha have been BFFs since childhood and now are in their 40s. They literally have Girl Scout photos together when they were kids.
That's cute.
Sasha and Mark met in their early 20s, and I've known both my entire life, and their family in my eyes. They've done more for me than my own family has. Both Mark and Sasha are good people. They also have a 14-ish-year-old son who I won't mention anymore as he's a kid. Mark and Sasha hooked my aunt up with her husband, Kurt, as Kurt and Mark are close friends. Not sure how close or how long. My aunt and Kurt have been together since their late 20s and married for 8 years. So Sasha and Mark got married only a year or 2 ago, as Mark didn't really want to be legally married, but Sasha definitely did. A couple years ago, my older brother and I were at his apartment just bullcrapping, and I brought up that I had a feeling that Mark was cheating on Sasha, because on Sasha's Facebook profile, She would post almost daily about the gifts or flowers or cards that Mark would bring home to her. It was literally a dozen roses a day or a gift or some cute note that he wrote for her. I told my brother it felt like Mark was compensating for possibly cheating on Sasha. So there's just, you can never do anything right. Even if you do everything right, you bring her a dozen roses a day, now you're a cheater. My brother goes quiet, and I can tell he's wanting to say something, so I push him, and he finally admits that our Aunt April told him that she's been having an affair with Sasha's husband, Mark. Oh, I am appalled so much that I don't believe him. All 4 of these people have been best friends forever for over a decade now, and they get together all the time as couples. I never imagined it was my aunt who he was cheating on Sasha with. I confronted my aunt about this as soon as I could. She breaks down to me and tells me it's true. They're having an emotional and a sexual relationship with each other and have been for years. Her aunt and her best friend, Sasha's husband, Mark, have been bumping uglies.
Ew. Ew.
Ew on multiple levels. But she says that her and Mark are madly in love, but they don't want to break the family up. Both Kurt and Sasha have no clue, and I don't believe they suspect anything.
No, you have to tell them. You gotta tell them.
If you know this,
just say, hey, they've been bumping. They've been bumping.
You should go, yeah, this song is bumping.
You know what else is bumping? This next story.
I told my aunt that she needs to cut it off before she loses everything. She said that she and Mark would stop, and I stupidly believed her. I found out that they never stop.
No, because they're in love.
A year or so goes by, and April wants to divorce Kurt. April moves into Sasha and Mark's house and stays in their renovated basement for free. And Sasha gets my aunt a new job at her own work. So Sasha and April work together until this day. My God, the level of betrayal.
Oh my God.
Someone needed to stop this. My aunt continued to sleep with this man in their home.
No.
In their bed.
No. She was home while they were sleeping together?
While she was even home.
I'm sorry, were they just really quiet?
They were just dead silent. They did the joke from Family Guy, where it's just British people. They're just going, almost, and there we go.
This is terrifying. I hate this.
At this point, my aunt had surgery and was physically going through a lot. She wasn't working with Sasha yet at this point. She also lived very close to my apartment at their house, but far from our family. So I would be at Sasha and Mark's house all the time, helping my aunt and hanging out with them all. This is when I find out they're still sleeping together and never stopped. I personally heard them talk on the phone. He works as a junk truck driver or something like that, so he can just talk all day on the phone with his headphones. And they'd say they love each other. They wish they could be together. They legit said they wish they were the couple that got together and Kurt and Sasha should have gotten together instead, and everything would have been just perfect.
Okay, so guys, I'm going to give you a little tip. If you think that, divorce your people. Divorce your people, leave them, and then you can go be together till the cows come home. And you can have your silent, spicy sleep, and no one's going to stop you. You guys suck. It's so funny because you can do it. You know what? This is not the 1600s. They won't stone you for divorce.
Well, I think there was a lot of stigma about divorce a little earlier than the 1600s, but I get what you're saying.
No, it's specifically the 1600s. I had to pick a time, okay?
Well, yeah, it was a good one. That's a good time to pick. This all made me want to vomit. I don't know why I didn't say anything. Maybe the immaturity as I was in my early 20s when I found out. It's scary to be the one to have to put this out in the open.
Yeah, be like, hey guys, don't shoot the messenger.
For real. What has kept me quiet since is the pit of guilt I constantly feel from this. I ended up cutting April completely out of my life a while back, and Sasha has been asking me why I won't speak with them, herself and Mark, because we were so close. But I feel so much immense guilt when I see her or think about her and her son. I just want to scream at my aunt and Mark for doing this. To make this all better, my aunt and Mark apparently decided to cease their relationship, and April decided a couple months after leaving her husband that she's stupid and realized that Mark never loved her, only wanted her body, and simply won't leave his family for her. She moved back in with her husband, Kurt. So not only did she cheat on her husband, April and Kurt, Sasha and Mark, April cheats on Kurt with Mark, and then comes to the conclusion, Mark just wants me for my body.
I thought you guys loved each other.
So I'll get back with Kurt. Even though you guys are talking all day on the phone about how you love each other and you wish we were the ones who got married to each other. It'd be perfect.
I literally hate these people. You're the worst.
Black hole sun.
Honestly, yeah, I don't want them to exist.
Won't you come?
Like, I don't even want them to learn a lesson. I don't want them
That's
here.
what the black hole's for.
Exactly.
We send people to the black hole when it's like, just get out of our realm.
I don't want to think about you anymore.
You are no longer on our plane of existence.
You know what? No. It's also, I specifically want another Doctor Who reference, the angels, but it's like when this crack sucks all the angels in so they start forgetting things. That's what I want to happen. I want them to be sucked into the void.
Into the angel crack.
And so you forget about them. I want to forget about these people.
I have no proof that I can give Kurt and Sasha, but at this point, should I break their family up if it's not going on anymore? Ooh, that's a good one. I'm honestly not sure if the affair is still going on, but last I heard a year ago, it's not. And by the way, I don't care what time it is. You can join us live on YouTube every weekday at 3 p.m. PST. All you gotta do is tap the profile and then you'll be with us. Anyway, thoughts? Like, I think it is a good thought. Does OP ruffle all of these feathers after everything has sort of been reset? Now there's no longer an affair. She was like, oh, he doesn't even really want me. He just wants my body. He doesn't even love me. I'm going back with Kurt.
Well, she cheated. She still cheated. I think you have to tell.
Let's see what they did. What would you guys do? I miss Sasha so much, but I don't want to break her heart and rip her life apart. See, that's what I'm talking about. If you guys think I should, how do I break this to Sasha and Kurt? How do I help with the pain I know I'm going to afflict onto them?
The thing is that you're not inflicting that pain. They did, like the cheaters did that.
You're just the delivery person. I never wanted to be in this role of being the bearer of such gut-wrenching news. And I know I'm selfish for saying this, but it's truly how I feel. I'm so freaking betrayed by my aunt as well. My brother and myself should have never been put into this position, and I shouldn't be forced to wear her guilt for her. I'm 26 years old, and I've never cheated on a single person. It's literally not that hard. P.S. My family knows about my aunt and Mark. They say it's not our business and to leave it alone. Frankly, they don't care because it's not affecting them, but it affects me deeply. I hardly speak with my family, and I am now extremely low contact or no contact with them. Please help, guys.
I hate that mindset of like, it's not our problem.
I hate that there's no resolution to that.
Yeah. I think OP, my advice is tell them they deserve to know these are people that you love. You are not ruining their life. Their lives have already been ruined, but they don't know. That's the thing. Like, it's already, the mistakes have already happened. The rot is already there. You just need to dig it out. My aunt faked my cousin's disability, so she got reported to the authorities.
Probably good.
Probably needed to be. All right, I know how the title sounds. I want to start off by saying that I'm new to Reddit, and I've ranted on here literally yesterday, but it is so nice to have a place to be messy, LOL.
Yeah, the
Be
Reddit
messy.
is that place.
Mm-hmm. Into the situation, I, 17 female, have an aunt, 48 female, and a cousin, 15 female, that constantly pulls the special needs card. I know how that sounds, but I'm not being ableist or anything. As someone with autism and ADHD, I know very well the struggles, and I know it's a spectrum. By the way, this comes from deleted on the OK Storytime subreddit. So, however, I find it odd that throughout our whole lives, my aunt can only ever talk about herself or what new medication she got my cousin on because a sudden new mental disability she has. Bragging about how the government gives her more than enough money to pay for it. Not informing, bragging. As in, you guys just wish it was that easy to get money. I could be a stay-at-home mom. That honestly seems to me like she's exploiting this poor kid and led me to wonder if my cousin was even special needs at all.
Is that possible?
Well, yeah. I mean, sometimes you can get, depending on where they are, you can get money from the government.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
For a period of time, my cousin's family lived with us because my uncle got a new job in our town. Everything was fine until my cousin started hanging around my family. She started running around and playing like a normal kid. At first, she said things like, I can't play too much. The new medicine I'm on makes me sick. Or because of my autism, I can't eat fruit. My family are farmers and we have a big property. So when we tried to give my cousin an orange, she said she couldn't because of her sensory issues. My mother didn't push back, but asked if she had ever tried one. She said no. My mother smiled and got her to try some. They ate dinner with us, so we knew she wasn't allergic. My cousin loved it. She ate the whole thing and smiled, telling my mother it's like a food and drink in one. The kid is 15 and has never had fruit.
My cat, Miss Karen, said malingering, not Munchausen.
Munchausen.
Someone else said Munchausen.
Munchausen.
It's when you like make someone dependent on you by thinking trying to create this world where they have a disability and are dependent on you.
Yeah. When you're actively giving them medication that they don't need.
Yeah, that feels like what's happening in this case.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, if she's getting medicine that's making her sick. My mother asked what she eats as a snack if she doesn't eat fruit, and she said that she eats tin spaghetti or packaged mac and cheese. How does this kid not have like scurvy? Same for normal meals. That night, my aunt yelled at my mother for giving my cousin fruit and said, and I quote, "You're making her too normal."
Tin spaghetti is all she can eat?
I kid you not, this woman said that for real. I heard it myself. Now I know for a fact that she's basically forcing this kid into being special needs. They moved out that week. Now fast forward a few weeks ago, when I graduated, I was walking out and about to get my senior certificate when I saw her walking out of the hall. It hurt to see her leaving as I was graduating, but I didn't think too much of it. At home, my mother had put together a big graduation party for me with most of my family members, and my aunt and cousin came to the party late. Again, I didn't think much of it as I was just happy that I even got a party and that my family was there. But the annoyance started when my aunt announced that she was late because my cousin was having a panic attack because of her autism, and the hall at the school was too loud. I thought it was strange to have a 3-hour-long panic attack, but I just ignored it and did the appropriate, "I hope you're okay. Would you like some snacks?" My aunt seemed to be annoyed that no one else really said anything about it and kept going on about it throughout the party, probably trying to gain some sympathy points. It seems like she's just trying to use her kid for attention.
Oh, yeah. And
she's
money.
And money.
She's using the kid for everything.
Yeah. It's not a good situation.
One-stop shop for all your needs.
What made me snap, though, was when my mother brought out a cake she had made for my graduation. It was my favorite, a red velvet cake. She said that she was so proud of the achievements I had gained throughout the year, and I have to say, I was too. I'd gotten 2 trophies and 3 awards. One of those I had worked 4 years to get. Anyway, as my mother put the cake down, she looked at her side and quickly picked it back up. She said something was wrong with it and she forgot a detail. I said I didn't mind and that I think it's great. I turned it around and there was a big chunk out of the cake. What? My aunt just giggled and with no shame said that she took a chunk out of the cake to give to my cousin earlier because waiting for the cake was triggering her autism.
What? I feel you can't just say it's triggering your autism and get this like get out of jail free card, but it also seems like that's exactly what she's been doing for the last like few years.
This is insane.
And it has been working.
Yeah, but also the aunt is kind of she's the one who's pushing all of this.
Yeah, no, this is ridiculous. Also, everyone in the chat is saying Sophia Abdullah says classic Munchausen by proxy, which apparently is what happened to Gypsy Rose Blanchard.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, because that's what the act is all about.
People were just referencing the last story.
No. That's what the act is about. The show with what's her face? That girl. I can't remember her name. Joey King. It's about like her mom. Basically, I think she and her boyfriend ended up unaliving her mom because her mom was making her sick and like basically treating her like a child and keeping her, kind of trapped. And so they ended up unaliving her, and that's why she was in prison until recently.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard? Mm-hmm. She was in prison?
Until recently. My mother looked like she was about to cry and gave me a hug and said she was sorry because she wanted my graduation to be perfect and said she could fix it. I said it was okay, and I appreciated that the party was even happening. I turned to my aunt and asked her to leave since she had already had some cake, or at least my cousin had. She got angry and said that I need to be more accommodating for my cousin and that this isn't all about me. It's literally a party about her. then continued to downplay my achievements. This finally broke me, and I yelled at her, telling her that everyone knows that my cousin is completely fine and that she's a crazy bee who's just an attention whore. I told her that my cousin isn't some moneymaker or a doll she can manipulate to get what she wants. I even told her that when my cousin grows up more, she'll figure out how much of a stupid narcissistic snake my aunt is.
Sheesh.
And get as far away from her as possible. OP is letting it all out. She's like, I'm not going to let that cake slide. I told her that I hope my cousin cuts her off in the future and she's left with no one. Now, I know that reaction was extreme, but this is years worth of biting my tongue.
Well, also,
here.
it's extreme what this mother has been doing to her child.
Yes, and also she attacked you at your graduation, which is not cool. So I don't think it's a little fair.
But, I mean, you forgot the case of, like, she needed to attack because of her child's autism.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, she was accommodating.
Yeah,
and you're not being
she needs a little bit of violence to stay calm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My mother tried to stop me for the rant, but I was a bit into it, TBH. I was just so sick of my aunt being an attention seeker. Pretty much everyone is siding with me, which honestly proves that this aunt sucks. If everyone's on your side after an outburst. Even my aunt's husband. But one of my aunts said I went too far and I should learn to control my anger because it's damaging for my cousin's mental health. Is this like a thing that you've done before? Because if this is the first time you've ever done that and she's like, you need to learn how to control your anger. Shut up. So am I the a-hole? P.S. I am aware that there could be some serious abuse happening. Please note that the medication she's on actually doesn't get consumed. That's weird.
Wait, what? Like orally?
What?
Like,
what?
Like it doesn't get consumed orally?
No, it just doesn't get taken.
Just taken in general.
The medication she's on doesn't get taken.
Yeah.
How does that make sense?
I don't know. I found this out from my mother, who threatened to call the cops about my aunt making my cousin sick. My aunt confessed that she doesn't actually get the meds. So basically, and there is an update, but it seems like the aunt is getting money from the government
for these meds,
or at least for taking care of her daughter to
it.
get these meds that she's not even taking.
Oh, and that's why they have so much money left over and can basically work from home, because this money that should be spent on meds, which probably are a little bit expensive, doesn't need to be spent.
But I have been to this update. I don't know how to update properly, so I'm gonna add it here. My aunt got reported. Nice.
Finally.
Finally is what OP says. My mother called the police and she was investigated. It was confirmed that she wasn't actually getting the medication she said she was. It was literally all attention seeking and for money. My cousin is physically fine, but she's staying with my grandparents at the moment, as is her sister. My uncle is in distress because of everything that is happening and is staying at our house for now. Yeah, what was the uncle doing to stop this? Because he was there.
Allegedly, by the way. Allegedly for everything I just said.
But you know what's not alleged? The fact that we are live every weekday on YouTube, Facebook, and TikTok. Just tap our profile. I'm still mad at my aunt, even though I know my cousin is fine. A few more family members are currently giving more information to the police about my aunt's behavior. What? So much drama. I feel like this is the better outcome at the moment. I do wish this never happened at all, but I talked with my cousin and she seems okay. She told me that she knew what my aunt was doing was wrong, but it got her out of school and events she didn't want to go to, so she went along with it.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know.
And she's making a living.
You know,
she's getting money that allows them to live. So that's a win.
I know a lot of people thought it was Munchausen by proxy, but it wasn't. Although I definitely thought it was to begin with as well.
Wait, why
wasn't it?
Well, maybe it's because the cousin didn't quite believe.
Or maybe
all the stuff?
Because she wasn't being given the medication. I don't know. Thank you for all the support. Things turned out a bit better. And that is the end of that story.
Woo!
So at least they caught it and put a stop to it before it got worse.
That is the silver lining here. But also I'm curious what these government programs are.
Well, it seems like they're not in America, so. Because they said mum.
So probably Australia
My aunt belittles me constantly, so I'm planning to skip Thanksgiving this year.
Be big her.
I, 37 female, have been dealing with passive-aggressive to directly aggressive verbal harassment from my aunt, 60 female, for years. Growing up, we used to spend Thanksgiving at my paternal grandparents' house. They both have passed away. So now we spend Thanksgiving with my mom's family at her sister's house. By the way, this comes from Perfect Beat 28 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So ever since I was a child, 2 of my mom's sisters and one of her brother-in-laws have been highly critical of me. Ever since I was a toddler, their nickname for me was Boss Lady. They knew it upset me, especially as I got older and understood that this was an insult. No matter how well I was doing, no matter how many great things I was doing, every get-together would involve one or more of them insulting me or belittling me. In my early 20s, I nearly returned to the bosom of the universe from a severe infection which ravaged my whole body. The infection was so rare and none of my medical providers had ever treated a patient with a case like mine. It took over 2 years for me to fully recover from it. I say fully in quotes because for reasons my medical team can't fully understand, it has left me unable to process dairy. Not even lactate pills will help. Even if I as much experience cross-contamination of dairy in my food, I will be bathroom sick and in extreme pain for days.
Yikes.
Well, ever since we started having Thanksgiving at my aunt's house, I've dreaded going.
Oh, you know why?
She puts dairy, she puts butter, she puts milk in everything you eat.
Everything's gotta have even the smallest bit of dairy. Everything's gotta have dairy. The fish is gonna have dairy.
Yep. Past 5 years, I've shown up very late, couple of hours on my own. My excuse has been, oh, I was taking the dogs on a hike. Truthfully, I was, but I was also dragging my feet because I genuinely did not want to be there. Last year, I showed up late as usual. They know I don't expect them to hold dinner for me, especially where I have allergies. Well, the kicker came when my aunt came to me and said, we put a plate for you in the fridge. I totally forgot about your dairy allergy and we used butter on the turkey. But I put some potatoes, sweet potatoes and stuffing on a plate. No joke. Plate they put aside for me was boiled, unseasoned sweet potatoes, white potatoes, and stuffing, which I don't trust had no dairy in it as I could not read the box with ingredients. I politely thank her and tell her I wasn't hungry at the time, but that I would take the plate home. Ultimately, I threw it out when I got home. My allergies have been known for over 10 years. My mom's other sister has a chocolate allergy. Funny enough, it was waned over the years. From the time I was a toddler, I would specifically ask for my birthday cakes, which were not chocolate, so my aunt could have some too. Somehow, now, my aunts managed to forget or just totally disregard my allergy. I've learned to bring my own food with me, anything from snacks to my own full meals, because I cannot trust that they will consider me at all. Which, if this bedriddens you or makes you sick or feel pain, totally, agreeable.
Yeah. Also, is there any reason that you are going to these Thanksgiving things? You're not forced to go.
Yeah, I think it's family though.
Yeah, but is this really family? Because family treats family like family.
The one who had the chocolate allergy often orders pizza when the family gathers. Fast forward to last month, the biggest Whopper was delivered. How I managed to keep my cool in the moment was simply because I love and respect my cousin. She was hosting the family in her and her husband's new home for their daughter's first birthday. This birthday was extra special as their first child, a preemie, passed away. This cousin is a saint. I cannot think of one bad thing to say about her. Such a beautiful woman and mother. I've been out of work for the better part of a year. In that time, I took 13 weeks worth of coursework to obtain my professional certifications in project management. I was also encouraged by peers in the field. The education system that provided my training considered me one of their top students, and because I was going through the coursework so quickly, doubled the coursework on their dime. I got twice as many certifications as a result. The job market has been incredibly competitive, so it has been tough for finding roles that I'm able to apply for with no formal experience. When I do, I am one of 100 plus applicants. My aunt, being the one hosting Thanksgiving, asked, how's your job searching going? I told her what I said above and also said, I'm staying positive and just doing my best to network, as I know the market is extremely competitive right now. My aunt's response, well, I've been talking to my friends friend who works for insert major tech company here, and she said project management is extremely hard to get into. It's like a super high level job. She literally raised her hand over her head to visibly illustrate how high level it is. You're not going to get a job in project management.
Where's the family at here?
Yeah, I don't see the support.
Nothing is showing any signs of support here.
You know, OP, you might as well give up because you're not getting that job.
Sorry, honey. You're just not good enough.
I was in shock. As mentioned, we were in the middle of a fun, positive, wonderful family gathering. We were surrounded by our family and my cousin's in-laws, who we all met for the first time that day. I responded, I know it's a difficult and competitive field to get into. I'm working on networking and even hoping that I find an assistant role part-time so I can build up experience. She doubled down with the, well, it's not going to happen.
Read the room. Read the room. That's all you have to do is read the room. Oh, you got this.
Oh my
if you work hard, you can do it. Yeah. Read the room.
I managed to extricate myself by attending one of the little kids at the party. I wanted to explode on her, but there was no way I was going to cause drama on such a great day for my cousin.
Good for you.
Later, I let my parents know what had happened. They agreed it was not kind of my aunt to say those things. I said, I'm tired of it. If she does something like that again, I'm going to speak up for myself. They told me, no, don't do that. Just let it go. I said, so I'm supposed to take that kind of nasty and cruel behavior from her? They said, yes, just don't start anything. It's not worth it.
Now you're enabling the aunt of being a bad person.
I just give her a knuckle sandwich. Hey, dude, they said not to say anything.
Yeah, they didn't say you couldn't tackle your aunt.
Yeah, dude, they didn't say you could not beat the crap out of your aunt. I'm so tired of it. It's gotten to the point that I can't/won't attend gatherings with my mom's family until I've taken my anti-anxiety medication. I literally pregame with them to get myself through the gatherings. I never know what is going to come out of their mouths. With Thanksgiving next week, I've decided if I am even going to attend. My mother wants us to be together for the holidays, but she also doesn't want me to cause any trouble. The irony is that I'm never the one starting it. I'm always going in polite and then take verbal abuse out of left field. If I want to enjoy any kind of Thanksgiving meal, I'm going to have to prepare my own beforehand, then bring it 45-minute drive to my aunt's house. Would I be the a-hole if I told my parents I won't go? And we have an update with some clarifications. Are we going or not?
No, I said it earlier. It's not your family.
Yep.
They're your family, but they're not treating you like family.
She's not your family. Yeah, I understand. I mean, if they're going like out of their way to just make fun of you. And you know what sucks? Is if OP has siblings and all the siblings are like, yay, good for you. Oh, you haven't had a job in 2 years? That's okay. You're going to find one soon. Like, what? Update. Clarifications. My parents are certainly not innocent in this. I'm aware of that, but I do have to cut them a little slack. The attacks on me often happen outside of their earshot. I couldn't even tell you who heard what my aunt said about me never getting a job in project management because I was in complete shock. My mother was there, but in another room. That being said, my father had been there. He was working. I have a feeling he would have said something. As others have speculated, I think my mom's two older sisters have done their share of belittling and demeaning my mother. She has seen the hosting Thanksgiving flat out write off their third sister who lives out of state over something petty. I forgot what it was. Ultimately, I think had my mother heard it in the moment, she would have said something, but finds it difficult to confront her when she wasn't present for the actual incident. Ultimately, my parents are incredible in every other right. My mother has literally saved my life through a horrible long-term illness. My parents both have supported me and cheered me on through this very long job search. I wish that everyone could have parents like mine. This is one area that seems to be a struggle for them, but I assure you, they are incredible human beings. The conversation had happened before I was prepared. We are in limbo for now. My mom happens to be seeing the two sisters who live locally tomorrow. She asked if I would be joining them. I said I cannot. I generally have another commitment. She was fine with it. My dad asked, what should she say to them if they ask about your job hunt? The reality is that I am one background check away from being fully employed. The job doesn't even have a title yet because a friend from the nonprofit I am in literally handpicked me for a role he is customizing for me. He has many things he will be looking for to manage, including project managing tasks. When my aunt first accused me, I told my mother she is not to be in the loop. She has lost the right to know about my job search. My dad suggests that she just say that I am still actively working on my job search. The background check should clear without issue, hopefully on Monday. Honestly, I told her I still don't want her in my business, good or bad, if she's going to bully and belittle me. She has no right to be kept to speed. This is when I told them I'm not planning to attend Thanksgiving. I brought up the points I made above. My mother said she probably doesn't even know that she upset you. I told her I can't imagine she didn't. I find it suspect that this cruelty always comes out when you and dad and my brother aren't present. She suggests that I send her a message saying that I'm sorry I won't be seeing you tomorrow as I have other plans. I just want to let you know that the things you said to me at the birthday party really hurt my feelings. I am not sure where she expects me to go from there. Even if my aunt apologized, I wouldn't take it as sincere. By the way, hopefully you consider searching us up on podcast platforms like Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Just search OK Storytime for more stories like this.
We got a bunch.
Then they both said, if you have nothing else, you should go to Thanksgiving because you have good news to share. I told them I still don't want to. My therapist agrees that it is not good that I need to take meds just to get myself to/through a family gathering. Having good news isn't going to make that better. My dad, to his credit, did say, well, I suppose even if you tell them you have a job, Bully's sister would say, see, it isn't a project management job like I told you. I told him I had the exact same thought. She would twist it somehow. I had errands to run and told them I would ponder it. I spoke with my brother on the phone. He's been reading here too. He agrees that I take too much abuse from them and should not feel guilty at all about sitting it out. I plan to stand firm and stay at home. How future holidays will play out is left to be seen. I really don't know how reaching out to my aunt about how she hurt my feelings would benefit. I don't see what can be gained from it. And that is it. That is the end of the story. Facts. Don't put up with this with horrible family members.
Yeah. And the fact that your family is not like your parents aren't supporting you, how you feel and how you want to handle things says one thing as well. It seems like they're trying to play a neutral party here, but it's like, come on.
But that's the end of the story. I slapped my boyfriend's uncle because I thought he was going to prank me.
Ooh, a little slap.
Hey, just
a little
a prank,
slap.
Just a prank. I haven't broken up with my boyfriend, nor do I want to, but I'm the cause of a war in our family/friend circle and could use some outside perspective. So we're not breaking up with a boyfriend whatsoever. I, 24 female, have known my boyfriend, Leo, 27 male, since his family moved into our neighborhood back when I was 5. His parents, Lupe and Juan, immigrated to the U.S. shortly after they got married in their early 20s and had their 3 kids here in the States. Our families bonded very well, and we had each other's families over for cookouts, birthdays, and holidays.
Nice.
By the way, this comes from Take the Cake 2025 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So when I was 6, Lupe and Juan helped my mom organize a birthday party for my dad. It was fantastic until it was time for the cake. Now, what I didn't know that in Mexico, it's a tradition for the family/friends of the birthday boy or girl to shove their faces in the cake. So my dad blows out the candles and Juan's brother, Alejandro, a notorious practical jokester, shoved dad's face into the cake. I freaked out.
I didn't like it when they shoved their faces in my cake.
I freaked out, not knowing what was going on, and was scared the candles had burned Dad's face. Dad was okay and reassured me that it was all in good fun. He and Mom knew about the tradition and thought the other had told me what's going on. But afterwards, whenever it was my birthday and Leo's family was over, I would always worry that I was going to have my face shoved into a cake. Fortunately, Mom, Dad, Lupe, and Juan understood that I was not okay with it and made sure nobody was near to shove my face into the cake. I also learned, years later, that Leo would threaten his siblings and my brother that he'd punch anyone who shoved my face into the cake. How sweet. That
Pun intended?
Leo. Oh yeah, pun intended, yeah.
With the how sweet the cake is.
Any cake, you put your face in any cake having to do with my girlfriend, done for.
I think if you're not like,
that's
like,
what they do. Have you not seen those videos?
I have, and you've seen people when they try and duck and they hit the table, and like that's kind of funny, but like I also feel really bad. But yes,
I don't know.
If it's not like if it's like a cheap cake and like whatever, it's all practical fun.
Well, yeah, but like some people get carried away with it.
Again, it seems like in this case, it's like shove as much as you can in there.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't want my cake shoved. Okay, years passed and we became closer. And after the whole thing with Dad, Alejandro started doing his best to make it up to me. He isn't a bad guy most of the time. His jokes are mostly on the funny side. One time he worked with my dad to put drywall over my bedroom door so it looked like they had made my room disappear. Then my grandma passed away a decade ago and he was the first person to make me laugh. Leo and I started dating until after we both returned from home from college. We went to separate schools in different states. We've been together for about 2 years now, and our relationship is pretty solid, aside from the usual arguments most couples have. Yeah, you should stop sleeping with her. That's not cool. That's usually what the issues couples have, right?
That's the issue.
We're seriously talking about getting married, but nothing is set in stone. Although Lupe likes to playfully tease Leo about taking it so long to marry me. My birthday was yesterday, and Leo decided to organize a surprise birthday party for me with just our family and friends. I see you. Alejandro is going to be having some crazy idea about what he wants to do with this cake. He even made arrangements for me to go to a nearby spa/beauty salon to get a day of pampering and my hair, makeup, nails done before the party, and even had his sister, Daniela, 24 female, pick out an outfit for me.
That's actually really nice.
Oh, wow.
That's genuinely nice.
This is pretty nice.
I'm taking notes.
I was pleasantly surprised. I knew Leo was planning something special for my birthday, but I was still amazed that he pulled out all the stops. And we were having a good time. We had drinks, good food, and just enjoying everyone's presence. Soon, it's time for cake, which Lupe had volunteered to make. And when I'm standing there, who do I see but Alejandro stepping next to me?
Ruh-roh. Uh-oh.
Who called that?
I mean, this is tradition.
I instantly had a bad feeling, remembering when he smashed Dad's face into his birthday cake all those years ago. I looked at Alejandro and said, if you try shoving my face in the cake, I will slap you so hard, you will be seeing stars. Ooh.
Like, what kind of stars? Like Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling, the Milky Way.
Yeah, I think the Milky Way.
Love it.
That's funny too. That was good. That was good.
Got you.
He winked at me and told me he wouldn't dream of such a thing, stepping to the side, making sure that he had enough space between us. The candles are lit and everyone is singing happy birthday.
Uh-oh.
I'm smiling because people are recording, and I am just about to blow out the candles when I feel a hand in the middle of my back.
Oh no.
Turn there. And there is Alejandro, the smile on his face that he usually gives right before he pulls a prank. I kept my word.
Okay.
And slapped him so hard that my hand ended up hurting. What followed next can be best described as chaos. So he didn't do it. Chaos. She didn't do it. Like, he didn't put her face in the cake, but he said, hey, you get anywhere close to me, which, I mean.
OP did warn him.
Yeah.
Like, straight up. And he's like, okay, I'm still going through with this. And you got warned.
So everything that's about to come is well-deserved on Alejandro's part. Is that what you're saying, Keon? Every single thing that is going to happen to Alejandro is well-deserved.
We don't know what's going to happen, but
but you're saying that, right?
I'm saying the slapping.
Well, the slap happens, and what's about to happen to him is well-deserved. Right?
We're about to find out. We don't know what's gonna. I'm not jumping to that conclusion just yet.
Leo immediately starts yelling at Alejandro and has to be pulled away by Juan before he could deck Alejandro.
Whoa, there's more.
Lupe and Mom are immediately checking on me to make sure I'm okay. Alejandro is proclaiming his innocence as Juan and Dad are telling him to leave, and everyone else who isn't involved are all demanding to know what's going on and why I slapped Alejandro. The fallout has been crazy. Leo and his parents and my parents are all on my side, knowing Alejandro's love of practical jokes and my fear of getting my face shoved into a cake. But there's a few other party attendants who I think overreacted and that I had no proof he was going to smash my face into the cake. Yeah, but that's not their business.
Listen, it's your birthday. You don't want to get your face smashed into your cake. You had every right. Everyone knew he had his little smug face.
Yep, we know.
And the fact that everybody else is in on it too, and like they're checking on OP and they're not pointing the finger. Like we understand. Like we knew what he was doing. So
we know.
I'm siding with OP with everything.
I don't think I'm in the wrong for defending myself, but I'm wondering if I should have told Alejandro to move instead of telling him I would slap him. So am I the a-hole for slapping Alejandro because I thought he was going to smash my head into the birthday cake? We got a freaking update.
I think I already answered it.
Yeah, we already answered it.
You're not the a-hole.
Update. Hey guys, just want to thank you all for your responses, both good and bad. I had a feeling that I was not the a-hole, but the arguments were getting pretty bad.
Oh, wow.
Although fortunately, they have down in the past week or so since I made my initial post. I've got the tea and it's a surprise brew.
Okay.
Leo and I are still together. He started calling me mi reina after reading the comments of how I am a queen. He especially loved one comment about how I was a lioness, and I've fallen more and more in love with him since he stood up for me. I've been dropping hints about what I'd like in a proposal. Alejandro asked to meet me in a neutral location a few days ago and to bring Leo with me if I wanted. Okay, this seems like a recipe to a great apology.
Hope there's an apology.
I agreed because I wanted answers about what he was planning to do, and the three of us met up at a local Starbucks.
Do you think he's gonna try and do another prank?
No.
This is the prankster.
He likes pranks, but he likes classic pranks. Come on.
I hope it's just a simple apology, but we don't know until we know.
I don't think so.
Okay.
It turned out he didn't plan to shove my face into the cake. Okay, what was he planning then?
You got caught.
For context, the majority of the party was in the living room, which was a staircase leading up to the second floor. The staircase was open so you could see into the second floor. Alejandro had arranged with some relatives of his and Leo's who were standing on the second floor to drop balloons. Not water balloons or anything like that, but regular balloons over the railing as soon as I blew out the candles. The signal to the relatives above to pick the boxes was holding his hand so it looked like he was touching my back. As the staircase was right behind me, however, he stumbled and put his hand on my back.
I don't believe it one bit. I'm sorry. That is one of the worst signals for dropping balloons ever.
Yeah.
That is BS.
No, yeah. Two questions go into mind here.
Yes.
One, I need evidence of who was holding the balloons. Two, who told Alejandro to put his hand on OP's back?
Yeah.
Because if it was Leo who orchestrated most of this, he could be masterminding right here.
No, I don't think Leo.
Come on. Think about it.
But Leo tried to like tackle him pretty much.
He did try to tackle him, but he wanted to tackle him way before that. And I think he was like, hey, put your hand on her back. So you signaled to everyone else that to drop the balloons.
I'm sorry. That is just like the worst way to signal.
It's a conspiracy theory.
That's a conspiracy theory. I think he's trying to save face and like, I wasn't trying to do it, even though you caught me.
Okay.
I need OP to talk to like, okay, who are the balloon droppers?
He also didn't tell Leo of his plan, which he admitted was a dumb mistake. And when the relatives who thought Leo and I were in on it saw me slapping Alejandro, they got angry and upset and insisted that I was in the wrong. I thought it was a very strange explanation and was ready to call him out on his BS, but Leo asked Daniela, who was one of the people filming on her phone, for her film so we could verify if he was lying.
Okay.
Ooh. And sure enough, we saw the relatives hefting up the boxes, and you can clearly see the balloons in them. A phone call with some of the relatives confirmed it.
I don't like this because you can still be like, yeah, that was a signal, but what if it was like a double entendre of like
a 2-for-1?
It was a 2-for-1. We're gonna drop the balloons and face and cake.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, Alejandro said we're just gonna drop the balloons.
Ooh. And I can guarantee you that if you want to hear more stories like this, go to your favorite podcast platform, that being Apple or Spotify, and check us out there. Just look up OK Storytime.
Very easy. We have a plethora of stories, just like this one.
We're gonna get into it.
Yeah.
So it was one giant misunderstanding. Seriously, I thought it was a really bad rom-com. I do feel like a jerk for slapping Alejandro because it was something that could have been cleared up. However, Alejandro has told me that he has no hard feelings
Oh, okay.
and that I did warn him. Okay.
Yeah, see?
He also did apologize for not honoring the boundary and making me feel like he was going to smack my face in the cake. Although he did look at Leo with a sheepish grin and told him don't make her mad because when she says she'll slap you hard enough to see the stars, she's not kidding. All is well, and Alejandro has promised to tell me the organizer of the party next time so we can clear things up. Thank you all for reading my story. Sorry the tea was scandalous, but all is well. That ends well. But yeah, that's the end of that story,
Okay.
gang.
Honestly, that ended up better. It seems like no bad blood. Alejandro took, like, he's like, okay, that was my bad. That's on me. Like, you did slap, you did, promise that you just slap me and I saw stars. I think this is great. Alejandro, was mature enough to, take the blame, clear things up, apologize. Good on Alejandro. Great. He even made some funny banter and, like, made things lighthearted. Great.
My entitled aunt wants my life because she couldn't have a daughter.
That's my life. Get your own.
Hey, get your hands off my life. I've got to admit, my poor dad has told me numerous stories of my entitled aunt Sarah, 50, female, fake name. So I wanted to write these down because there are a few I want to remember before I, 21 female, forget. They're in chronological order. Ooh, very impressive, OP.
Love that.
By the way, this comes from user Skeleton1851, and you can submit your stories on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, here's some background. My entitled aunt, Sarah, is the eldest of 3 kids. There's her, and then my aunt Tori, I gotta keep the aunts and the aunts consistent here. My aunt Tori, 47 female, and my dad, 46 male. All players have their own kids. Sarah has 3 boys, which is important for later. Tori has 3 girls, and my dad has a boy and a girl. Feel free to share. I'd be happy to share more stories as my entitled aunt isn't the only entitled woman in my family. Here's the beginning. Sarah was deemed the brain of Britain growing up, always top of her class and never getting into bother at school. So she willingly stayed until the last year of high school so she could get better grades to go to university. Mind you, this is in the 80s, and I don't really know if there was tuition covered in Scotland, but I doubt it. So Sarah declared she would be taking a gap year to work and go to university the following year at 19. However, she met her future husband, Buttface. That's what he will be known as. And he was from a decently well-off family. This is what my aunt Tori declares is the start of her entitlement, since Buttface told her she never had to work a day again if they got married. They didn't marry until 2 years later, but Buttface gave Sarah the life she wanted and felt she deserved after a childhood of poverty and hiding from social workers. Fair to say, she never did apply for university at 19 or any point after that. My grandfather, her father, was so angry with her because he felt she was wasting her future for a life of sitting about. Obviously, Sarah didn't care.
Britain.
Sarah's the brain of Britain, and she used that big brain to get herself a sugar daddy. On to the marriage and children here. Yes, Buttface and Sarah did get married, and it was a lovely affair, apparently. I didn't even know. I wasn't born yet. Now, I should mention that my entitled aunt is incredibly religious, and this was brought on more by her marriage. She had to wait until she was married to have a child because, quote, the elders in the church will speak so badly if I had a child out of wedlock. Woman, this was the 90s in Scotland.
The elders in the church would have...
The elders in the church. Was everyone just having babies out of wedlock in Scotland in the 90s? I mean, it was the 90s in Scotland.
Who wasn't having babies?
Oh, yeah, what? In the mid-90s, Sarah announced she was expecting a baby boy with Buttface, and the family went insane. This was my first grandchild.
Could grandchild be mistaken as, like...
Grandnephew.
I don't know. Let's keep going and see if it makes sense.
Okay. But then Tori also announced she was pregnant 2 weeks later and announced it was a baby girl. This set off Sarah because she developed a sick obsession with having a girl. Before the end of the 90s, Sarah had managed to have the firstborn and 2 boys. Tori managed to have 2 girls, and Nick had my older brother. So 5 grandkids in total. After the millennium, my dad had announced that my mom was pregnant again, and so did Tori, which was unexpected. So just a few months apart, I was born in May and my little cousin in September. Now, you'll never guess what Sarah did. She got pregnant again.
Sarah.
She's just like, I want to join in on the pregnancy fun.
Like, everyone's getting pregnant with me.
Everyone
But little old me.
a little baby.
We're making a little baby.
She was told during the scans that she was having a girl, and she was ecstatic. However, the doctor was beyond stupid, and my youngest cousin ended up being a boy. She was so depressed and turned on her sister and brother. She berated her sister and brother for having children out of wedlock and saying that they were going to the bad place and deserve to burn for rubbing it in her face that they managed to have girls. This actually caused no contact for a few months between my dad and Sarah. However, this all changed once we started to visit her. Quote, "Give me your daughter. She's my golden child." Apparently that is a quote from OP's aunt. Surprisingly, I do remember this, despite being like 4 years old. By this point, my parents were married, so the wedlock issue stopped, but Sarah had become quite possessive over me over the last year. When I saw her, I had to stick by her side or stay within reach of her. I was lucky my 2 older cousins told her to go do one in young kid speech, so I could go play Pokemon and watch Power Rangers with them. I'm assuming that that's slang for just like, buzz off. Oh, why don't you go do one? That's not Scottish, to be clear.
This
That was
is
just
Brit.
British. That was just British.
Greater Britain. Nah, it's
Which is
I
not the
feel
same
really-
as Scotland.
Stop.
Little bad.
I feel really bad for OP's, I think, cousins, because Sarah's like, "Oh, I love you, OP. You're like the best," and she's like, "I don't care about my sons at all."
This
That's so
is
sad.
unhinged behavior from the auntie here, most definitely.
Kimberly Holly says, "I just kept having kids until I had a girl." I think that's fine. It's just the act of like being like, "Oh, dang, I hate this kid because it's not the gender."
Yeah,
I
well,
wanted.
it's like we read a story yesterday that was
that's
like
messed up.
a parent where they were just like, they didn't expect to have twins, and they were just like, we'll give away the one that doesn't have the blue eyes.
That's insane.
It's like,
Oh,
what is wrong
I
with
hate
you?
that one. Yeah.
Yeah. On one visit, nearly at my 5th birthday, I was downstairs with my little cousin, and we were playing when my dad told me to get my shoes on so we could get home for dinner. I remember looking up and seeing Sarah death glare at my dad. Now, this is 16-year-old memories mixed in with paraphrasing from my dad, but this is the exchange that supposedly happened. Sarah says, "Go home. I told you I wanted her to stay the night." Dad: "Sarah, I told you already, she's going to go see Tori and the girls tomorrow." And Sarah, she scoffs.
You're prioritizing your nieces again? I told you, Nick. She's my golden child. She's mine. She's going to stay here tonight so we can have a girls' night.
Sarah. Oh my God, will you shut up about this? You never got a girl. Get over it. She's my daughter, so if you don't shut up, I'll make sure you never see her again. Fair to say, I was able to go home with my dad, and I didn't really see my cousins for a few months. It was on and off visits until I was about 7, and then they moved up north for Buttface's job. Out of wedlock bites Sarah on her behind. This has got to be a fan favorite tale of mine, mainly because I was there to witness it. Now, my eldest cousin A was 19 at this time, so I was 13. I had seen him the previous week for a visit, and he told me that he's going to be announcing some really good news on a family group call. As soon as I joined the call, I was lambasted by Sarah for wearing a football top and told to change it. She hated that I was not the once innocent little girl she knew, but a tomboy. However, that is for another day. Now, I sat with my dad and my brother whilst A joined the call with his girlfriend P. We're going to have Alvin and
Portia.
Portia and Alvin. Okay. We thought he was announcing an engagement. Nope. Alan and Portia announced that they were pregnant and expecting a baby in November, and they're going to name it Alorcia.
I see you. It's going to be a baby girl, and Sarah's going to be like, "It's mine."
I see you. She's going to sneak in there and steal that baby.
She's going to do it like Tangled style.
Mm,
And then she's going to lock the child in a tower and
With-
steal youth.
she's going to give her kooky magical powers. And she's going to use her kooky magical powers to
And
do
she's going to
kooky
fall out
things.
of a tower and turn to dust.
I screamed in delight at the news. My dad was proud of Alvin, and my brother was so pleased. My granddad already knew. Sarah and Buttface looked pale, about to faint, and started screaming at Alvin. Sarah demanded that we leave the call, and we did. I was horrified at her reaction, but my dad told me not to worry, and this is how I was told the previous stories I have mentioned above. Sarah was seriously so entitled because she wanted everything her way, and the fact her eldest son was having a child before the age of 20 with his girlfriend of 9 months and refused to get married set her off. Alvin had to cut contact from Portia being 3 months pregnant until just before his daughter was born. I was like, did Alvin cut off his own?
No,
It sounded like he cut off Portia, but
It
he
did.
didn't. He cut off the aunt.
Yes.
You'd never believe now that Sarah is a doting grandmother to the now 6-year-old daughter of Alvin after all she put her son through. I've actually yet to meet her in the flesh. I've only met her on video call. That's just life when you're 200 miles apart. Bragging about your lifestyle at a wedding? So all of these have been different stories. To be
Yeah.
clear, all of these are little bullet points, little
Vignettes.
little windows into the entitlement of OP's auntie.
It's all about her wanting children, kind of.
Yeah.
It's like the through line.
Oh, the through line is she's
She
like,
wants a girl.
you despicable beasts are having children out of wedlock.
This is ridiculous. Give
Which
me your
is
kids.
Low-key what she
Ridiculous.
did.
Yeah.
Right? Low-key already what she did.
Did she? Oh, yeah.
She did it at the beginning and then they got married. I think.
Oh, but I think what she's really upset with is that they're not getting married because they don't have plans to get married, it seems like. And so she's like, this is ridiculous.
Just find yourself a man in the 80s who'll tell you you'll never have to work another day in your life. Now, this is a more recent story. My dad attended his cousin's wedding about 4 years ago, and Sarah was actually invited. No idea who thought that was a good idea. To preface this story, I need to explain something. Do you remember how I said Sarah was promised to never work again once she married Buttface? Yeah, that backfired. So it turns out Buttface lost his high-paying job and was forced into a crappy office job for a few years. Because Sarah couldn't live her lifestyle, she had to get a job for the first time in 26 years and was brought back down to earth. It was a humbling experience for her. Now, I wasn't at this wedding, but my dad informed me that Sarah was showing how entitled she was again. She sat with a cousin of theirs, my dad and my mom, and began to detail how they were going back home to go on a yacht. No, not their yacht, their friend's yacht. And not a yacht, but a decent-sized boat. This lasted 45 minutes, and the cousin had to walk away before telling her to F off and save this for a more appropriate occasion. And by the way, it's always an appropriate occasion for you to listen to full episodes with stories like this. And all you need to do to find them is go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to things. Just search up OK Storytime. I don't really think this is like a story looking for advice, but I mean,
No.
my advice would definitely be to
Cut this lady off.
not let this lady
Around
be
your kids.
around your kids.
Yeah, moral of the story, don't let this lady around your kids. She might be the brain of Britain, but not a good idea to bring her around your kids.
To conclude, my dad hasn't actually seen Sarah in about 3 years. They never spoke for 10 years because my dad realized how one-sided their relationship was. He decided after she moved to not text her and see how long it would take for her to text him. From when he did that, she hasn't ever texted him once. Dad only speaks to Alvin and doesn't bother with Sarah's other sons. My brother talks to all 3 of them. I only talk to Alvin as well, as he's helping me with some uni stuff. Sarah will never change. She never thanked us for her 50th birthday posts or the present and card that we sent up to her. She hates the fact that I'm the first granddaughter to go to university and pushed one of her sons to be a teacher too. Screw you, Sarah. You just prioritize your own lifestyle and instead of loving your nieces and nephew. And that's
that.
the end of that story.
Woo! My aunt keeps demanding to switch houses, but we stood firm.
Girl, this ain't Monopoly.
Just trade. Hello, Reddit. This is on mobile, so I apologize for any grammar or spelling errors. So this is the first of probably many stories of my mother's entitled sister. For the sake of her series, because there are many instances, I'll call her Jackie. By the way, this comes from Rock and Roller 93, and if you want to submit your stories, go to OK Storytime on Reddit. This is going to be a lot of context before the main story, so please bear with me. Jackie is the middle sister, with my mom being the youngest of 3. My oldest aunt on my mom's side will be Maria, since she is a saint to put up with my entitled aunt, Jackie. So Maria, Jackie, and Mom. Maria was always the caring nurse, eldest sister who took care of everyone. My mom was the youngest, who loved cheerleading and being the boss lady of a corporation before giving it up to be a stay-at-home mom for me and my sister. Jackie, on the other hand, she was the pretty, smart, and petty sister that always got all of the boys in high school, but afterwards spiraled. She never tried hard. She didn't graduate from college until she got a social work degree at a community college. I pity the poor kids that had her as their overseer with how she treated people in general. Her mental health took a nosedive as her looks apparently got worse after high school from her perspective. She got plenty of attention, but any positive relationship she ever had, she destroyed. As a kid, I knew there was something up with her since she always seemed negative or had something pitiful to say. She would snap at everyone and cry about how her life should have been better. She would also tell me from 7 to 11 to give her my Christmas money before my Nana and Pop, my mom's parents, finally shut her down.
Wait.
She's like, hey, kid, give me your money. And Opie's like, what? But this is my Christmas money. And she's like, I don't care. Give it here.
No, I bet you she's doing like the, don't worry, I'm going to hold on to it for
Like,
you.
I'm going to put this into stocks and invest this for you.
I'm gonna put
And then in a
this-
couple of years, it's going to be double the money. And you might be wondering, oh, when am I get the money? Don't ask. She was living with my Nana and Pop from when she was 26 to into her 50s before they finally had enough. She's always been a moocher and plays the victim in every situation, even if the story she's telling was never hers to begin with. Sorry for the long background of my Aunt Jackie. While I don't have ill will towards her and understand her frustrations with her life, her decisions and attitude are what cement her leech-like image in my brain. During the global crisis, I've been staying at home with my parents in our house. This 4-bedroom house has been with us since before I was born, almost 30 years, in a neighborhood that grew around it. The neighborhood would, years later, become an impressively expensive area with McMansions and golf courses as far as the eye can see. My parents have finally, as of this summer, paid off the mortgage of this impressive and amazing house. And I love living here with them. I pay them rent and water bills as well as food. I have a great room and am not too far from my office and the store. Plus, I get to cook for my mom and dad for their opinions on my recipes. Win-win.
And then after
Yeah.
I cook a fantastic dinner, I head out, I take a sojourn to the golf course, play a quick session on the back nine.
My Aunt Jackie has her own 2-bedroom house and has for a couple years now. Problem is, she doesn't take care of it or herself. My mom has gone on more than one occasion to clean out the house for my aunt because she's physically disabled. Aunt Jackie only screams at mom about what to do like she's her slave, but refuses to help or praise her. I wanted to go with my mom to act like a buffer, but she refuses, saying I'll just end up getting guilted and tricked. I've been pretty firm as of late, but I've been known to forgive things more readily than others would allow. So during the crisis, we haven't seen her, but have had phone conversations. Well, last weekend, my Aunt Jackie called my mom to check in. Jackie: hi, haven't talked to you in a while. How are you? Mom:
Oh, good.
Good. Oh, that's you.
Everything's been doing as well as can be during this time.
Jackie:
That's nice. Now that vaccines are rolling out, it's going to be nice to see everyone again.
she always leaves a pause after she says something to try and get more information out of people or make her voice sound weaker and more pitiful.
Yeah, we usually keep to ourselves, so we've been good so far with distancing. What are you looking forward to once everything goes back to normal?
Well, I can't wait to come visit. My house has gotten so cluttered lately. I'm thinking of getting a bigger house for all my stuff.
Hey, it's me. Now it's me, Mom's other personality, the Italian version of Mom. Hey. Really? Why don't you just get rid of some stuff you don't use instead? Selling houses are tough right now.
Actually, I was hoping you would just let me have your house. I have so much more stuff, and your house is so much nicer and cleaner than mine.
Jackie, I already told you no. This is my house and my husband's house. Eventually, it will be OP in her sister's house. I have no intention of selling it.
Oh no, I don't want to buy your house. Just switch with me. You and your husband can have my house, and Opie can live with me over there.
Number one, what makes you think I'll let you have my house? And number two, why would OP be staying with you in my house?
Well, you've had her for long enough, don't you think? She makes all these amazing meals for you and helps around the house. I figure she can just keep it up, but for me. But she'll have to pay for the internet, electricity, water, etc. I mean, she has a job, and I only have my little old pension. And with your husband still working, he can pay off the mortgage for my house.
I am
See.
no longer on Jackie's side.
Yeah. So Jackie is just like, just give me your house. And Opie's mom's like, no. And she's like, but that's not fair.
It's like, but that's really what I want.
But I really want your house.
I want your house. My house is full of crap.
Trash.
I trashed my house. Let me trash your house.
Jackie continued with her delusional rant for a few minutes, with my mom looking at the receiver like it spewed fire at her. Finally, after a few minutes, Mom got angry enough to cut her off.
Oh, you are not setting foot in my house, and you sure as heck are not going to use my daughter as slave labor. You are out of your god-dang mind. Good night, Jacqueline. And then she hung up. Click.
My mom then had to pop open a bottle of red wine and told my dad and I everything they said. While Mom was on the phone, Dad and I were eavesdropping from the other room, praying Mom wouldn't let her come. Why, yeah, that'd be crazy if she was like, yes, Jackie is moving into the house and we are moving out.
She's like, after a couple glasses of red wine,
I've decided to hand over the house.
She's like, hey, you know what? The more the merrier. That's after Mom has a couple glasses of red wine, that's when the Italian comes out.
Yeah. We were so relieved Mom put her foot down. It turns out Jackie called Maria to complain about what Mom said to her, spinning a sob story about how cruel of little sister she was for not giving up her house and how she was going to be alone until she could rent an RV to go live with Aunt Maria. Suffice to say, Aunt Maria shut that idea down and told her to stop trying to force herself on other people at almost 67 years of age. Sorry for the long story, everyone. There are other stories of my Aunt Jackie, but her madness only seems to get worse as the years go on. So I thought I'd share the most recent craziness with all of you before going back to rehash the past. And there is an update. Okay, guys, this has just gotten more crazy. Jackie called my mom just a few minutes ago. It's not even 8 a.m. yet here. Sad about how last weekend went with their conversation. She was sorry about asking for the house. Instead, she's willing to settle for my room and I can take her house. Her reasoning:
Opie's thinking about getting her own place anyway. I can just transfer the mortgage to her. It'll be sad not to have her stay, but she needs to leave the nest sometime, right?
Low key, though, I kind of like that.
I mean, but then the parents have to live with Jackie.
Exactly. That's the bad part, is that now Jackie lives at the house, but like low key, sweet deal for OP being like.
She has to pay a mortgage.
Well, I mean, how much? Some of it's got to already be paid off, right?
Hopefully.
You don't have to pay the whole thing.
Mom was simmering, hasn't even had her coffee yet, and said no, she's welcome to stay here until she saves enough for her own place. It will be her decision, not yours. Mom put her on speaker and walked to my doorway as I'm working from home and my room is right next to hers.
But she's old enough. She shouldn't be living with her parents at her age. She should just get a boyfriend and move out on her own.
She looks right at me with my mouth hanging open. Mom.
Well, husband and I love having her here. She can get a boyfriend and move out whenever she feels comfortable, but that will not be dictated by you. Also, if she leaves, who's going to pay the water bill and groceries or make my favorite pizza? You?
No, why would I be cooking when I'd be the guest?
Well, OP pulls her weight around the house, is my tenant in the meantime, and saving for her first house. So I don't see why we should be bringing you in.
After that, Mom starts walking back to the kitchen and I get back to work. And I want you guys to work on listening to more full episodes with stories like this.
Yeah.
Just go to OK Storytime, search that up on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app. And there is a little bit more to this story. But any final thoughts? You only get one.
House, please.
Say no, and
Say no.
if you can get that house, it'd be pretty sweet.
It seems like it's pretty like run down and also mortgage.
Yeah, but you can flip that.
You'll flip that
You can
house.
flip that one.
But OP finishes it off with, I didn't hear the rest, but my mom is half asleep just brushing her off. That is until Jackie had the nerve to ask for us to renovate the garage to make her a room, since my living there probably saves them so much money they would be able to afford it. Mom just screamed,
You have a house, now live in it.
I burst out laughing and I've been sitting here typing this word for word. Thank God for long Zoom meetings and not having to have our cameras on. And that, my friends, is the end of that story. My aunt disrespected family boundaries and refused to apologize.
But why? Why would you do that?
But can we just say sorry?
Please?
I, 36 female, am wondering if I made the right decision going no contact with my aunt, 73 female, my mom's 68 female, only sibling. This is very lengthy due to there being a lot of context, so bear with me. We shall. Almost a year ago, my grandma, 93 female, my mom and aunt's mother, fell and broke her arm while in her apartment at her senior living facility. This caused her to need to move in with my mom and aunt temporarily so they could assist her while recovering. By the way, this comes from Specialist Fox, 1988, and if you want to submit your own story, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So For context, the house my mom and aunt lived in is my grandma's house. My aunt moved in with my grandma and grandpa, now deceased, after filing for bankruptcy for a second time around 2011 or 2012. My mom and brother moved in when my grandparents moved into the senior living facility around 2017 because she thought my aunt would be homeless if she didn't. Turns out this wouldn't have been the case because my grandparents were paying all of my aunt's expenses, which my mom was not aware of at the time, but I digress.
Wow.
Yeah, and so she's taking advantage of your mom while she's getting everything paid for?
Yeah. Dang, man.
Suspicious. My brother moved out, eventually leaving just my mom and aunt in the house. My mom and aunt have never gotten along, even when they were little, and basically lived on opposite sides of the house with little interaction until my grandma had to stay there. They would take turns helping my grandma to the bathroom and changing clothes. My grandma has dementia and couldn't remember breaking her arm sometimes, so they were constantly having to remind her not to take off her cast or use her arm. Oh, that's tricky. They were supposed to share nighttime duty, but my mom always ended up being woken up and helping because my aunt would take sleeping pills and not hear my grandma call for help. It should have been noted that both my mom and my aunt are disabled. My aunt has fibromyalgia and my mom had thyroid cancer, diabetes, and high blood pressure, as well as constant back pain, hip pain, and a fake knee.
Wow.
A lot. The house has been in a constant decline since my grandparents moved out and looks like a hoarder house. My sister and I went in once to throw out the trash in the living room and dining room and kitchen in 2023. My aunt resisted anything we did, and my mom agreed that they needed help, but were limited in what they could do because of their health issues. It's really interesting that they clearly have like a lot of mobility issues and health issues, but are taking care of mother with dementia. Like that.
Yeah.
It seems like they need kind of someone else to step in there.
Yeah, if possible.
Yeah. It went right back to where it was over the past 2 years since then. Anyways, they went on like this, taking care of my grandma for about 4 weeks, and then my mom got seriously ill and ended up in the hospital with signs her kidneys might be failing. Oh my God. The night my mom went into the hospital, I volunteered to spend the night at the house to help my aunt take care of my grandma and figure out ways she can take care of my grandma on her own, since we didn't know how long my mom would be in the hospital. It seems like she can't even take care of herself on her own.
Yeah.
I mean, if the state looks like the house looks like a hoarder's house,
Right.
I feel like both these people might need extra care.
I agree.
I did night duty and called into work the next day so I could help my aunt figure out a solution. Every single thing I suggested, from different ways to help my grandma get up from the futon, she was sleeping into different beds she could try in another room, was met with, "I can't do it, this won't work," from my aunt without even trying. I tried to suggest reaching out to nonprofits who help with these kinds of things and got resistance. At one point, we had my grandma laying down on my aunt's bed, trying to see if it was easier to get her up from it than the futon, and my grandma used her broken arm to try to push herself up. My aunt leaned over and yelled in her face about not doing that, and that if she does it again, she would tie her arm to her body.
Oh, wow.
It should be noted that the only conversation I heard before my grandma and my aunt from the moment I got there was my aunt screaming at my grandma. At that point, you need to find your grandma or if you have the funds, you gotta find your grandma some other care.
Yeah, this does not seem like the ideal situation.
I step between my aunt and grandma and with my hands raised tries to ease my aunt out of the room. I told her she shouldn't yell at her like that and that we should all separate until we calm down. My aunt started screaming that it was her room and my grandma and myself, should get out. Seeing as how my grandma's wheelchair was in the hallway and my aunt was in the doorway while my grandma was on the bed, it wouldn't have been possible for us to leave without her leaving first. I tried to calm her down and kind of ease her out by taking a small step towards her when she suddenly put her hand on the side of my neck and pushed my head to the side and down.
What? Side and down, like, whoa, get out of the way. That's not safe.
No. At this point, I placed my hands on my aunt's shoulders, guided her out of the room, and closed the door in her face and asked her to please go into the living room until she calmed down. I was shaking as I had never been pushed like that by her before. I checked on my grandma to make sure she was okay. She was and didn't understand what was going on. After a while, since my aunt had shown she wasn't willing to listen to anything I had to say, I decided I had done the best I could, took my aunt and Mimi to lunch after she was calm, made the excuse I had to get to work, and left the house. I went to visit my mom to see how she was doing. She was on the mend, and the doctors were hopeful that they would be able to get her kidneys functioning again by adjusting her meds. I wasn't going to say anything about what my aunt had done to me to my mom because she had enough to worry about. Some additional background. On top of her health scare, I have also noticed that my mom was getting depressed over the years since moving into that house. My husband and I have talked about it and were prepared to have my mom move in whenever she was ready to leave the house. While visiting with my mom, she suddenly
suddenly broke down in tears and said that she couldn't go back to that house, but didn't think she had a choice because her mom needed 2 helpers. But again, like, these aren't people that, like, these are not the people that are equipped to help this grandma.
Right, but
this,
I think
mom.
the mom is. Right?
No, the mom has thyroid cancer.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, so she's like, I mean, she might have a little bit more ability, but it seems like she's also pretty affected by this.
Yeah, exactly.
I told her that she needed to make the choice that was best for her and her health, and by concentrating on her mom instead of herself, she didn't notice what her body was telling her and almost passed away. I let her know that she can move in with us. She gave it some thought and decided that was what she needed. The next day, she informed my aunt and grandma of the decision, and my aunt blew up at my mom while she was lying in her hospital bed. Jeez.
Wow.
She could be heard screaming down the hall. She called my mom selfish, blamed her as the reason my mom's marriage failed. It wasn't, trust me. And blamed her for why my aunt now yells at everyone and is so unhappy. Security almost had to be called. My mom ended up having to put herself on a list at the hospital, which meant if anyone looks to visit her, they would be told they didn't have a patient by that name. Only I and my brother were allowed to visit. She was in the hospital for about 3 days. On the day my mom was going to be discharged, I decided to let her know what happened between my aunt and myself because I was concerned about leaving my grandma alone with her. She was understandably furious with my aunt for laying a hand on me and agreed with my concerns. I suggested we let my grandma move in with me as well while we work on getting her into an assisted living. Yes, that is absolutely what needs to happen. Yes. She needs to have people who like are equipped to take care of her and know how to deal with like a patient with dementia, not an aunt who's gonna scream at her and like potentially if she's treating OP like this, since I could more easily help her than my mom or aunt could, and my mom would only have to take care of her during the day while I was at work. She was hesitant because she felt like she was already being a burden, hadn't even moved in yet, and I have a 4-year-old daughter at home I have to take care of too. I said it would be fine, and it is what we need to do to protect grandma as well. She agreed that she could do it, so after she moved in, we called my aunt to let her know what we discussed and what we would like to suggest. My aunt wouldn't hear of it. She said, Rita's yelling, that she and my mom are supposed to take care of grandma, their mom, together. And that means my mom has to live at the house 24/7 helping her. She wouldn't hear of anything else and spent the rest of the time blaming my mom for everything. My mom brought up the pushing incident and my aunt stated I pushed her first and that she has the bruises to prove it. My aunt bruises easily. Eventually, she didn't have a choice because my aunt fell 2 days after my mom moved in, broke her tailbone, and we took grandma to my house while she recovered. Everything went smoothly and we eventually got my grandma into assisted living, which I mean, sad, unfortunate that it had to happen that way, but at least your grandma is in safe hands now.
Yeah, absolutely. But oh my goodness.
Yeah, a lot had to happen. I mean, this sounds terrible.
Yeah.
My sister, 39 female, who lives 2.5 hours away, and I had to pack my grandma's apartment up ourselves. Though my brother, 33 male, did come and help once or twice when he wasn't working. My aunt wanted to be there while we were packing so she could help us decide what has to be kept, but she wouldn't actually be packing anything up, just advising. We told her no, put most of my grandma's things in storage, and packed what she would need for her room in assisted living. Flash forward to the moving day, I went over to my grandma's new room after work so that I could help move the furniture around to where she wants it and unpack her boxes. My aunt and mom were still there and my mom had done some unpacking for me. While moving furniture, my aunt asked me where the wreaths were for the door to the room. I explained that they were in storage because my sister and I didn't think it was a necessity and we had limited space in the new room. My aunt lost it. She screamed at me that it was a necessity, that I should have thought about how my grandma would feel around her neighbors if she was the only one without decorations on the door, and that's why she should have been there during the packing. She has dementia.
What?
So she's probably not going to be worried about any of this. I apologized if the choice upset her, but we have a difference of opinion on this. I asked her if she would please stop yelling because they could hear her in the hall. She stated she didn't give a dang if they could hear her, and I needed to be more considerate of what makes a home a home. Decorations is apparently the answer instead of the family photos we did pack.
And instead of like yelling.
Yeah. Yelling certainly makes the home a great home.
Yeah, yelling is totally fine. Doesn't affect it at all. But no decorations.
What are you going to do without decorations?
Unacceptable.
I told her, okay, then she will just have to go get them from storage and turn my back to her so I could move the dresser. While my back was turned, my aunt came up to me and shoved me into the dresser I was moving.
Never turn your back. Never turn your back on these people.
My mama lost it, got into my aunt's face and told her to never put her hands on her daughter. My aunt pushed my mom out of her way. I went up to my aunt, didn't touch her, and told her I would call the cops if she ever touched my mother again. She yelled some more about random things that were apparently also my mom's faults and stormed out. My grandma, precious loony that she is, was just sitting there in her wheelchair, not even really understanding what was going on and wondering why everyone was so upset. I finished getting her settled, let her know that everything was okay, and to enjoy her new digs, and took my mom home. My mom and I had several conversations about what happened during the move. She told me she didn't want to really believe me the first time I told her about the pushing, but after seeing it herself is even more upset. I talked it over with my sister as well to get her opinion on what I should do. My sister was concerned because she has somewhat similar personality to my aunt and doesn't want to be cut off from her family if we ever fight in the future. I assured her that so long as she doesn't lay hands on anyone, we can get over it. That's kind of silly. It's like the sister's like, but what if I become like our aunt?
Yeah.
What are you gonna cut me off? And Opie's like, just don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why
Just
would
don't push me.
Why would you think that you're gonna get physical like that in
Yeah.
the future? Just don't do that.
Like
Easy
I don't
morals.
know what else to tell you. Just don't do that.
Yeah.
I had decided that once could be written off because this was an extremely stressful situation they had been in 4 weeks. But the second time, my aunt had at the point been living on her own, rent-free, only having to take care of herself and a dog for 3 weeks. Plenty of time to not be stressed out anymore. There was no reason I could see that a disagreement over a door decoration would result in a physical altercation. My mom and sister stated they would support my decision whatever I choose to do. I decided no contact was the way to go because I did not want my daughter to be around that. My husband and I don't even fight at home, let alone yell. We have heated discussions, but never raise our voices because we don't want her to think that's a normal thing to do. My dad was a yeller, and I remember being very terrified of his anger and didn't want to show my daughter that. Since the pushing has happened twice, I didn't want to risk it happening again, this time in front of my daughter. I decided to write a letter to my aunt explaining my memory of the two events, my observations of her attitude recently, and while growing up, she was always complaining about everything, even out loud in restaurants, so that whoever she was complaining about could hear, and my decision to cease contact. I pleaded in the letter that she talk to someone about her anger and get some help. I explained that I would be open to written correspondence by mail only if she wishes, but that was it. I blocked her on my cell once I decided on the no contact. The letter was sent about 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, and I haven't heard from her since. My mom has to stay in contact with her because of my grandma, so I get updated on how she is every now and then. She's still in my grandma's house and has given my mom until spring to get the rest of her stuff out of the house. It is still my grandma's house and goes to both my mom and aunt upon her passing. My mom and I have been going over on Sundays when my aunt is at church to clean up my mom's stuff and pack what she wants to keep. We plan to call Junk King to clean up the trash once we move the stuff she's keeping due to the sheer amount of trash, but only from the room my mom stayed in and the garage because that was what my mom brought in when she moved in. The rest of the house we plan to leave alone since it's my aunt's things and trash. By the way, we'd never want you to leave us alone because you can listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search Poke Storytime.
That's right.
That's right. But there is a little bit left to the story. Do you have any final thoughts?
I really like OP's thought process of not bringing this around her daughter, especially since she's so young. Like,
I mean, yeah, that's not okay behavior to bring around a child.
yeah, absolutely. So I think OP is handling it to the best of her ability. It's obviously a crappy situation, and you wish that people wouldn't act like this.
Yeah.
But you can't meet them at their level, and she's definitely not doing that. She's definitely, letting them be wild and crazy, standing up for
Away
herself
from
in the
herself.
process. Yeah, and then making sure that it's not influencing her 4-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, also like everything that I wanted to happen in terms of like getting the grandma assisted living, moving her out of the house, moving the mom out of the house. It all happened. So I'm pleased with that.
Absolutely.
But let's finish the story off. I keep waiting to see if she will write me with an apology or something, but no luck so far. I'm not comfortable with my mom being around my aunt on her own, but I have to also stick to my decision. Thankfully, there aren't many times they have to get together, so that is a slight comfort. So am I the a-hole for going no contact? Should I give her another chance since it's been almost 6 months, even though she hasn't apologized? And that is the end of the story. No, I don't think you have to give this person another chance when she's physically pushed you multiple times and hasn't apologized. Like, that's not on you.
Absolutely, because I think it's the kind of person too that if you apologize to them, then they'll just be like, yeah, you are in the wrong because also this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And it's just going to make it worse. So you definitely don't need to do that.
Yeah. My family's double wedding is filled with drama. It strained our bond.
Double trouble. That's what I always say.
That's what I say too. This all happened about 8 years ago, yet this still lives in my head rent-free. I'm turning 29 soon. My mom and my stepdad, mom's third husband, were off to Dollywood, and I knew that he was going to propose to her as he was a bit of a loud speaker. I was in college and was more focused on my studies, more than whatever my mom or my sister chose to do with their lives. So we all mostly kept to ourselves, but we still had an amicable relationship where we could chat. So imagine my surprise when out of nowhere, my sister just plops a pregnancy test right on my laptop. Right on your laptop? Kind of gross. Exciting. Exciting, though. By the way, this comes from Enraged Aaron, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OK Storytime subreddit. So I look at her, then I look back at the pregnancy test, and a million thoughts were running through my mind, but the loudest ones were, okay, a pregnancy test. She wouldn't buy one unless she thought she was pregnant. Then, when I took a closer look at the test, it was a super faint positive. Could that be a positive? Is she wanting me to confirm? Without saying a word, she said, yes, I need you to confirm. Does that say what I think it says? Yes, said Opie. That's a faint positive, but it is a positive. Right at that moment, my phone rang, and it was my mom. Mom never calls me when she's on a date with my stepdad, so I knew it was either an emergency or more likely he's popped the question. The second I answered the phone, I had to yank it away from my ears as my mom started excitedly screaming about how my stepdad had proposed to mom on the top of the Ferris wheel in Dollywood. My sister took that moment to announce the positive pregnancy test, and all I could say is, holy crap. Thank God the mic auto-dampened screams of a certain pitch because I'm sure my stepdad was tone deaf from her shriek.
Big day for this family.
Truly, big minute.
Yeah.
So not only did my mom get proposed to, she was going to be a grandmother, something she always wanted, all on the same day.
Wow.
Aww, that's so sweet. Sounds adorable and almost like out of a child's dream, right? Well, pull up a seat, grab a drink or a smoke or whatever you prefer and get comfortable. Some needed context. I have been to a wedding prior to the ones I had ended up attending, my mom's second wedding, and ended up fielding a lot of those responsibilities. As a result, my mom and I often joked about how I was one of the best wedding planners she could have asked for, since I made sure she got the bare minimum of what she wanted and kept her from collapsing from stress. Now, with that in mind, it's easy to see where this all ends up. At first, my mom had asked my aunt to help her with the wedding planning so I could focus on my studies. My aunt agreed, but she never really ended up following through with even simple phone calls. My mom asked me to help her with the wedding planning after multiple failed attempts to reach my aunt. A simple church-style wedding with blue and silver accents throughout the decor. Nothing gaudy, her words. She also asked me to find ideas for a tractor cake to give to a cousin who was willing to bake the cake. Sounds simple enough. I wouldn't have to handle much other than communicating specifically what her desires were and running it by her first if she liked something. During all of this, my stepsister started showing up more often. This was weird since ever since my stepdad had started dating my mom 2 years prior to the engagement, she almost never came around to visit her father. When my sister came into the room during one of their visits, the topic of my sister's pregnancy came up. It wasn't long until my stepsister told him that she was getting married to her boyfriend of 2 years. He was beyond excited that his daughter was getting married, but what threw me was the almost immediate volunteering of me to help with their wedding. While planning my mother's wedding, I somehow got roped into being my stepsister's DJ, all because I knew how to work a stereo system and a laptop to boost audio. So began the wedding of my stepsister first. My stepsister wanted a barn wedding, complete with a horse in the stable, which wasn't part of the regular plan, but went along with it. Hay bales for seats with quilts over top, and lights strung throughout the tall rafters hanging down to create an ambient light when the sun began to set. Our goal was to assemble the entire barn to fit 30 guests, complete with catering and a private DJ booth for me to make sure the audio got out there. The booth was a horse stall that smelled beyond horrid, and the sound that came out of the speakers would bounce back into the room.
Oh, gosh.
There was nothing to be done after countless attempts to move the speaker so I wouldn't go deaf. The plan was for me to stay in the booth and get the music started during the wedding procession, a loop for the reception, and a special dancing list at the end. The last bit of business was choosing a dress for me to wear, which she had chosen a maroon and black Gothic style dress for me to wear. I didn't argue and wore what the bride told me to wear, and personally, it was a nice looking dress. So far, everything seems okay. It doesn't
So
seem
far?
so far, everything's okay.
I have a feeling this is the calm
So
before
far,
the
everything's
storm.
fine. Day of the wedding comes around. It's a hot summer day, and with an hour before guests arrive, I'm already feeling the force of that heat just beating down on me. Even more so since I was wearing a wig and the dark colored dress that the bride wanted. What? As soon as I arrived, I was ushered into the booth by my stepsister's aunt, telling me that the speaker wasn't working and fix it. All I had to do was put the phone on a charger and it was fine. I ran a few audio tests, going all the way to the altar and back to make sure the music was hitting everywhere as planned, then went back. Time for the procession. I play the music as planned and dim it down once the bride gets to the altar. I go to step out from the booth to stand at the door to wait for my next cue, only to be pushed back into the stall and told that the bride wants me to stay in there. From where the booth was located, I can't see the bride at all or really hear the actual ceremony itself. That's so rude.
What?
Why would you even want that? However, what I could hear was, if there are any objections, speak now or forever hold your peace. And right at that moment, the horse that was in the stall next to the altar decided to unload a full pile right there with proud and loud volume. Think loud horse fart. And that's what I heard from where I was standing, whereas the bride got to hear all the detail. The priest, without missing a beat, said, "Thank you, Stella." They are now pronounced, and I'm to play them off, then switch to the party music. As soon as I go to leave the booth again, I'm once more pushed back into the booth. Yeah, they don't want you to actually join the party. They just want you to work.
They better be paying you.
They better be. I'm told quite sternly to stay in the booth. My mom and my stepdad had already gone back to the main area to eat with the other guests. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there wondering if I'm able to get up and get a plate. The aunt was nowhere in sight, and I wasn't going to trouble the bride, so I just sat there for 2 hours. Why didn't your parents get you a plate?
Yeah, you got other family members there, right?
Yeah. Now, something I end up forgetting a lot until it happens is that I tend to have low sugars if I don't eat small meals throughout the day. I'm not diabetic, but this is what my body tends to do. Me too, girl. Me too. You got to keep an eye on that because that's what I have to do. No, I hadn't eaten since before even showing up to the barn, so I'm sitting in the booth, sweating my butt off. Oh, and as a person who gets both heat stroke and also, like, I pass out from heat stroke and pass out from not eating enough, this is a combination for you about to pass out. And slowly started to lose grip on reality. By the time my mom and stepdad had noticed that I wasn't at the table, they finally checked in on me at the booth 2 hours after the wedding ceremony had ended. What is this? Like, I'm sorry, if I was in the booth, if I was being treated like this, I'm immediately texting my parents being like, guys, I'm about to pass out. I don't know. They keep telling me I'm not allowed to leave this booth.
Yeah, like, did no one plan on socializing with OP for the whole wedding?
And like, your parents didn't think about you once for 2 hours?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was drowsy, essentially deaf from the reverberating of the speakers, and just so freaking hungry. My mom sent my stepdad to go to the catering tables, only to find out there was no food left for me. They managed to ask me if I had anything to eat or drink at all since being back there, and all I could do was shake my head no. I set the music to dance music and told the bride I had to leave. She told me it was rude to leave early, to which my mom explained that I was having a low sugar and we have no food, so I need to go home before we needed an ambulance. The ride home was mostly a blur other than them stopping off at McDonald's and getting me a small meal. A few months go by, my nephew is born, and my mom and stepdad are getting married.
Wow.
Nothing really eventful happened other than the fact my mom deliberately put waterproof makeup on my face, knowing I hate wearing that stuff. I spent 3 days trying to get that stuff off, all while accidentally giving myself raccoon eyes. No, what makes my mom's wedding so eventful is that a month prior to my mom's wedding, my stepsister told us that she was pregnant. It wasn't until she announced her pregnancy that I noticed some shifting in my sister and brother-in-law's relationship. If you still have that drink or smoke nearby, now would be the time to partake, for I will too in retelling this. When I tell you that my family's life can easily be mistaken for some sort of TV drama, I'm not kidding, and am fully aware of how far-fetched this all sounds. But believe me, nothing can make me want to make this stuff up. First bit of context tea. My brother-in-law came up to me and confessed prior to the pregnancy announcement that he was beginning to have second thoughts about his relationship with my sister. I told him that his decision is ultimately up to him and that I won't hold anything against him if he leaves as long as it wasn't something I should be angry at, like cheating or getting physical. Now, the day after my mom's wedding, while I was staying at my sister and brother-in-law's place, they had a little argument. In the argument, my brother-in-law asked my sister pointedly if she had baby-trapped him into the marriage. My sister said nothing. She just turned around and locked herself in her room, and I just sat there trying my dangdest to not eavesdrop on that conversation. But when you do it right in front of someone at screaming volume, that can be a little hard. I kept my opinions to myself, but later heard my sister say to her now former friend that she had indeed baby-trapped him because she was afraid he would leave her. Whoa.
Wow, she admitted it.
If you're wondering, yes, the friend did stop being friends with my sister because of that. Yeah. Context T number 2. In the time period between my stepsister's wedding and my nephew's birth, my stepsister got pregnant herself.
Okay, so many babies.
A lot of babies. She had been mostly radio silent about the pregnancy other than the announcement she made when she came to our house one day. Upon coming home, I found out something about my stepsister that even upset her father, but not as much as he should have been. My stepsister had isolated me on her wedding day on purpose. She thought that I would end up stealing the spotlight with my bad health, and that I apparently had when I went home due to low blood sugar and deafness for 3 days. OP, you need to stand up for yourself. If you're going deaf and also feeling you're gonna pass out, just leave, you know?
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, the people pleasing has to be put underneath the I'm literally gonna pass out and my health is at risk.
You gotta look out for your health
You have
and
to look at
safety.
like as a person who gets like same things happen to me.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, this would happen. It would happen a lot more because I you know, I wouldn't make sure that I was checking in on myself. But now I know what the signs are, and I know that, you know, I got to make sure I'm drinking water on hot days. I have snacks on hot days and stuff. So that's just my kind of, I'm not a big sister, but this is my big sister moment.
Yeah.
You have to take care of yourself. She also intentionally got pregnant after my sister hit the 3-month mark because she was jealous of both my sister and I getting attention from her father. He was upset that she had felt that way, but did nothing in the way of telling her that the way she had acted was wrong. The relationships between my family are rather strained, but they won't admit it. We only communicate on the behalf of my niece, stepsister's side, and my nephew. We don't talk to each other except during difficult times like during 2020 or when there were major family announcements like a wedding or holiday. Personally, given the TV show drama that my family causes, it's for the better that way, although I am sad I won't see the tea as much anymore and only get it through secondhand information. I almost forgot to mention that my stepsister was fully aware of my health conditions, yet she insisted on putting me in the conditions that were there, even with subtle warnings like, this room is a bit hot. Do you think it's safe for me? As for the food situation, I just think nobody cared to think to look for me, considering I am an adult and she was content with that, even if it meant I felt like utter dog crap afterwards from low sugar.
Yeah, that's a moment where we need to be not. You don't want to ask people if something is safe for you if you know it's not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just be like, hey, I'm gonna be honest. I want to stay in there, do this work for you for no money, but
I can't.
But it's so hot in there. I gotta take a break.
Sometimes you look at the weather online, and you know, and then it feels different on the day of.
Right.
But like,
you're literally in a barn. I don't know how much air conditioning they've got going on.
Probably zero.
Yeah.
Like if all of these things, I don't know, even if you didn't know about them before, if you noticed them at the time, you gotta stand up for yourself. So in the end, all she wanted was for me to feel discomfort and be in no part of her wedding whatsoever. I also forgot to mention that my sister has a habit of doing things that suit her ends without considering the feelings of others, which is why I wasn't surprised by the baby trap thing or even announcing her pregnancy the moment Mom made her announcement. And don't worry, I do realize now not to do that anymore and to think of my health, even if it makes me look like an a-hole. Good. Thinking of your health is never an a-hole move.
Never.
And if anyone makes you think that, then they are the a-hole.
Yeah, we're all adults.
Yeah.
We all have needs.
Yeah.
those needs being, not staying in like a heat trapped room
Getting
in a
food.
barn. Like they can understand, and if they don't, that's not your problem at
Yeah,
all.
no, that is totally on them. But there is a part 2.
All right.
Yeah. My takeaways from this part 1 was your sister and your stepsister kind of whack.
Yeah.
And take care of yourself.
Please.
Yeah. My mother is trying to dictate my future wedding. I posted almost a month ago about my family, and now I found myself in some interesting drama regarding my relationship and my mother.
Oh no.
Before anyone jumps the pew-pew, I haven't been proposed to, but my man and I have discussed this at length, which is why this is becoming an issue with my mother of all people. Apologies for any spelling errors or grammatical mistakes. I downed 3 shots of gin since getting off the phone with my mother and am slowly getting more wasted as it hits. To make things clear, my man and I discuss things with others as a general consensus plan of what we want to do based on budget, not timeframes exclusively, and the type of company we want to keep. He hasn't felt pressured about proposing to me because we both know we aren't in a financial situation that marrying me would be beneficial. I have a bunch of student debt that I don't want to saddle him with, so we feel no rush in this, and there is no set date. Context. I was raised in a heavily Christian household that believes a church wedding is one of, if not the only way to validate a marriage or relationship.
Okay.
My man was raised by his own beliefs and is an atheist. I personally don't care about his religion, and he doesn't care about mine. He's free to believe what he wants, and I'm free to believe what I want, and we're happy with it that way. The problem. My mom is so set in her ways that she wants at least one of her 2 children to be wed in a church under the blessings of God. Her words. For years, I grew up watching my family fail relationships left and right like they were casual playdates at the park, which deterred me from dating at all. I always felt, why bother? The stress clearly ain't worth it, let alone the drama. I know now it's just a them thing, but back then, being a child, seeing that, it was no wonder I grew up dismissing relationships and sticking to only friendships. That being said, I received a lot of pressure growing up to start dating and that I'd be happier. At the time, I was more focused on my health concerns and much less interested in dating. No point dating if there's a chance I could drop at any moment, was the way I thought a lot back then. I didn't want whoever my significant other was to be left alone and sad because of something neither they nor I could control or predict. Most of my family gave up on pressuring me, but ever since middle school, my mother had always been insistent on trying to get me to date because you have so many guy friends, surely one of them will date you. Let me tell you now, the friendships I have with my guy friends are literally described as me being one of the guys. You don't encroach on that territory as a gal pal in the group of guy friends because it just generally ruins the vibe. I would never listen to her about it because it was my life and not hers, nor would I let anyone dictate my life. That's also crazy that she's telling you to date in middle school.
Yeah, that's
She's like, you gotta get on to it.
Yeah.
You gotta get on it in middle school.
I know. I feel like there are some parents like that.
Yeah,
Middle school is pretty crazy,
middle
but
school's-
like, I feel like I've definitely had some friends where their parents are like, so is there anything going on?
I mean, that's absolutely my parents, but
oh yeah.
they didn't do that in middle school.
Yeah, that's pretty young.
These were words of wisdom my father imparted to me before he passed away, and I truly hold to that. Something bubbly for all of you to enjoy. When I met my first and only boyfriend, we had no frickin' clue we had fallen for each other. We both saw each other as good friends, but according to our other friends, and through some humbling looking back on recordings, we were slowly growing more and more attached to each other. We were so dang oblivious to the fact we'd literally fallen for each other so hard that it took a friend asking us simple questions to point out that both of us emotionally and romantically constipated people had fallen for each other and we didn't know. This had gone on for almost 2 weeks. We discussed it healthily and addressed our feelings. After about a week of continuing to be friends, we did start dating, and ever since, we've been tighter than a vice grip. What made my relationship an issue to my mother was the sheer fact of the matter that she always tried to coach me and my sister to find a nice, rich, loyal boy in our area. Point of the matter is that the majority of the rich local boys in our areas were players and never loyal.
That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah. A story for another time, but a bit of drama. If you're interested, I can retell later. My mother had an affair with one of these people. What?
Oh, I want to know.
My sister ended up leaving the state for several months and meeting a guy at the time 3 states away from us, then later coming back and marrying at the courthouse. My mother didn't exactly like the idea of them breaking the tradition we were raised to shoot for, but dealt with it. Remember the earlier context about my mother raising us to marry in a church? Well, since my sister didn't marry at the church, that left her only other child to do so. But at the time, I wasn't interested in dating and continued to be that way for almost 5 years. So the second I got into my relationship with my boyfriend, my mom started drawing up wedding plans. This is when I learned that there's actually a family tradition for my mother's side specifically. The family of the bride pays for the wedding. Since my sister didn't have a wedding and just signed the documents at the courthouse and camped in my room for a week, then that left her youngest child, me. Now, I won't sugarcoat it. I hate my mother. And I don't use that word lightly. I won't go into detail, but I will explain it like this. I'm a ridiculously patient person, and if I manage to hate someone, it means that they did something to either hurt someone I really care about, or they hurt me in a way I will never forgive them for. I have always lived by the motto to forgive, but not forget. With that in mind, you can guess that I want zero involvement from my mother, including any expenses. I won't go into any details, but this woman has done so many things towards both my sister and myself that I would have willingly sponged the money off of her greedily if I didn't feel like it came with some form of emotional attachment, which I know it would. Well, I believe in the very real world of karma and tit for tat. I ain't about to have that bad mojo in my life tied to her. Our plans. What we plan to do is host a BBB, beer bong barbecue. What? We don't want it to be serious at all and just a basic hangout and chill moment with our friends. We intend to just sign the documents at the courthouse, return home, smoke some green, drink some drinks, eat some good barbecue, and be happy and have fun. Any other expenses would go towards something we both could use. We're incredibly simple people, and personally don't like the concept of shelling out thousands of dollars for a wedding when we could save that for our future in some way, with no shade towards others who choose to do so. Their lives, their choices. My mom obviously takes issue with this because my sister is still married to this day, and her only other living child lives 700 miles away.
Oh, wow.
One of the biggest things my mother takes issue with reverts back to the fact he isn't a rich Christian local man. I don't care if he's a poor Floridian. I'm happy, and that's what matters. She also hates the fact we plan to introduce the green to a wedding, to which I responded that I'm a registered card holder for the stuff. Medical conditions. And that if I choose to smoke instead of drink, that it was my choice. I mean, yeah, especially like with the green, it's pretty similar to drinking. So
Yeah. Depending on, your reaction to it and
This is
everything,
true, of
how
course.
much you take.
But also that's kind of the same with drinking.
Yeah, true.
Though, to be fair, I will do both because it is a celebration. The only reasonable concern is I might feel bad after, but I always bounce back within minutes and have a decently strong self-preservation instinct that won't allow me to get inebriated unless I one-shot it, like I did prior to writing.
All right.
Okay, so do we have a lot of self-preservation? So far, we've only heard stories of you having not a large amount of self-preservation.
I guess.
The hilarious part about all of this is the fact that my mother admitted 4 years ago that she was responsible for both my sister and I being a constant state of baked until I was 12 because one of her and dad's spoken the green. So let that one sink in. Over the phone, she tells me, 1 second, I need another shot for this one because holy beans, this makes me angry. I want my baby girl to have a nice traditional wedding. We'd be happy to fund it for you, but only if you don't have the green in your wedding. Which? I'm telling you right back now that hypocrisy is so dang potent for me because of the audacity of this woman. She has me baked for 12 years of my childhood life and tells me I can't choose to use my medicinal herb at my own party? Heck to that. I'm gonna, and she can't make me do otherwise.
It's my party and I'll smoke if I want
to. Exactly. I told her in polite terms that we don't want to rely on her money. A lie, since we admittedly do use the money she sends me every month to get my medicinal herb, $20. We just don't admit it to her. And that we honestly just want to buy our own supplies and work for our party, since nothing quite beats the taste of a homemade barbecue with some decent drinks, and in my opinion, a bit of the mellow stuff to make it more fun. OP is really emphasizing.
Yeah.
That's not to say we don't have movies or games and stuff we could do, but this is what this woman is hung up on. They're like, yeah, we're getting married, but come over and smoke.
Yeah.
We're gonna watch Shrek.
Yeah, I'll just be in a white dress. You guys don't worry about it.
Don't even, honestly, we don't even tell them that you're getting married. She doesn't want her Christian daughter to have a non-Christian wedding with an atheist. Point blank. She seems more upset that she'd have to spend close to $800 to drive here, how much it costs to move me here, to see her youngest child get married. I can promise the drinks have punted in by now, but the fact that this egg donor thinks that she can just dictate my wedding because she wants to follow her tradition, thinks that it will fly, it just won't. She's losing a battle to a Floridian who brought me down here to get away from her, and she honestly thinks she has a say in our relationship because she brought me into this world. Take this lesson from me and don't let people dictate your life, because here I am, enjoying the buzz from 3 shots of gin and laughing at the hypocrisy and entitlement of this woman to think that just because it's her tradition that it has to be mine. I will scream it from the rooftops if I have to. This is my life and my relationship, but out. We can literally have an inexpensive wedding at our house for only $100 plus the marriage license, and we can spend that towards our future rather than a picture-perfect wedding she tried to have 3 times. Could be my wasted mind rambling, but this woman has been married 3 times. Not very Christian of her. And, I guess she was a widow. But she also had an affair. And I've been thinking she's been trying to live through both of her children. So the last person I'd want wedding advice from is her. She went out of her way to find churches for me, one of which is just a 7-minute walk from my house. I don't want her opinion on that, and have made it known over the 3 years I've been away from her. But fear not. We do intend to cut ties with her once we are financially stable. I do appreciate her help to keep me healthy as a parent, but I most certainly don't appreciate her trying to live her vision vicariously through me. Let that be known now. You can respect a parent for bringing you into this world, but you don't have to tolerate unrealistic expectations on your life based on their own shortcomings. By the way, it would be a shortcoming on your part to not listen to full episodes with stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. But there is a little bit left to the story. Any final thoughts?
It's just a lot of throwing rocks and glass house kind of stuff.
Really?
You know,
Yeah.
It's like, it's dance mom energy. It's like, I mean, this woman was pushing her daughter to date in middle school. That seems like that would be the type of person that like maybe wasn't happy or isn't fulfilled in her own life and is kind of wanting to live vicariously through her children.
Yeah.
And we've seen it in more than one ways. So
very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that you can kind of put a little bit of distance between you and your mother.
Yeah, definitely.
Just set those boundaries so that she doesn't feel like she can kind of dictate everything you do with your life.
Yeah.
Especially before you have any sort of, if you want children, before you have children.
Yeah.
So that she doesn't kind of put her foot into that as well. Anyway, I'm happy in my life and my relationship. If he wants to propose to me, I'll be happy with it. And we already know our plan. A fun party with friends with all of us happy and enjoying ourselves. And to me, that's all I can ask for. However, I won't let someone try to tell me how to marry based on her or the family's traditions. Sometimes traditions are meant to be broken, and if the couple are happy together, what's the problem? Hope y'all enjoyed. I'm gonna relax now and try not to laugh myself into another dimension from this woman's delusions. And that is the end of that story.
Wow.
Wowie.
Wow. So it sounds like she is distancing herself a little bit, or at least her mentality towards it.
Yeah. At least just being like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to. And it also kind of makes a little bit more sense why the mother didn't check up on OP at the wedding.
Yeah.
I mean, it's coming. We're finally understanding all of these weird, relationships and why they were happening like that.
Yeah. I want to exclude my fiance's uncle and his wife to my wedding because they are problematic.
Well, if you got a problem, you gotta get them out.
That's right.
Yeah.
I, 24 female, have been with my fiance, 27 male, for almost 2.5 years. We got engaged this past September on our anniversary vacation in Key West, which was really special to us as we both have never been there before. And the trip was amazing. By the way, this comes from Squirtle Squad 0120. And if you want to submit your own stories, just go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. Do it. So, to give some context, my fiance's uncle, let's call him John, 27 male, and his wife, let's call her Amber, 30 female, have a very hard time trying to keep their thoughts and feelings to themselves, and are people who like to take all their anger and frustrations to Facebook. This is what I worry about when it comes to telling them that we don't want them at our wedding. Our reasoning for not wanting to invite them has something to do with some of the things that happened between John and Amber, John's parents, and a couple of our friends. Basically, there was a whole chaotic montage of John and Amber getting upset for getting punted out of the place they were staying at because they, 1, never paid the full rent, and 2, brought in another cat without the owner knowing. I love cats and would have taken the cat in if it wasn't for the cat being a literal menace to society. All they were told was to either abide by the owner's rules or they would need to leave. Instead of just following the rules, they went on a full-blown breakdown on how they were getting punted out and tried to play victims in the whole situation. This turned into John and Amber going after our friends and our friend's mom, the owner of the house, and belittling them, saying that because they live in that house, everyone needs to abide by their rules and they can do whatever they want. After going off on them, John and Amber turned to John's parents, my fiance's grandparents, and started going off on them about how they would abandon their only son and not let them live with his parents. His parents are old and they are people who just want to live their lives with peace and quiet. Neither John nor Amber are quiet people. At the end of the day, all John's parents said was, "You are a grown butt man.
You're a grown butt man.
A grown butt man who should know what would be the best decision instead of listening to everything that that little witch of a girlfriend is telling you." Dang, man. Shots fired. Oh my
God. Spicy.
Yeah. All of this chaos has led to John and Amber burning all the bridges between my fiance's side of the family and all of his friends. The only people who were kept out of the situation were my fiance and I. Fast forward to when we got engaged, like not even 2 hours after being engaged, Amber messaged me and asked me when the wedding was going to be and where.
Aha! Not anywhere will you'll be.
Ooh, that's a great answer. I was dumbfounded as I wasn't expecting to be engaged and hadn't even really started looking at what we would want to do. I simply just told her that we weren't sure yet as we want to spend some time just being an engaged couple before we start figuring out the wedding. Since I told her that, she started turning the whole conversation to her talking about what she wants to do for her wedding and how I should go dress shopping with her so we could try on dresses together. Would Amber also be trying on dresses or would it just be OP?
You better not be.
I have a feeling it's
Better not be.
I have watch out.
That's
Whoa.
me.
Whoa.
That's your face and
Dang.
my fist.
Considering that I don't like this girl and I'm trying to lose some weight because of health-related issues, I told her that I don't want to waste a consultant's time trying on dresses when I don't even want to get one right now. In the middle of that conversation, she started talking badly about John's parents, and I cut the conversation off by changing the subject because if I let it continue, I probably would have lost my crap. Do not disrespect Nana! That's right. Don't respect your freaking elders, man.
Respect them, man.
Man. As of right now, my fiance and I are trying to figure out a way of letting John know that he and his wife will not be invited to the wedding, as I know Amber is someone who will try to make some petty but stupid comment to John's parents and ruin the whole day. So, am I the a-hole for not wanting to invite my fiance's uncle and his wife? Edits, you may have noticed that my fiance and John are the same age. That is because John is only 3 days older than my fiance, so my fiance's mom and John's mom were pregnant at the same time. They grew up together and even lived together when my fiance was going through some stuff with his dad. John is the only child to his dad, but has 2 half-siblings, so he grew up entitled to everything. I am also an only child, but I got raised to understand that if you want something, you have to work for it. So basically, John and my fiance were basically brothers growing up, and after the whole situation happened, my fiance was so frustrated with John and how he and his wife treated his mother on social media to the point where my fiance had to make the decision to no longer make him a groomsman or best man at our wedding. Also, I know a lot of you are saying, just don't tell them or send them anything. Trust me, I told my fiance multiple times that we don't have to tell them or send them anything, but he insists on having a conversation with his uncle about this, so I am going to leave him to that. If I have an update, I will post it as soon as I can. And there are some comments. Comment number 1 says, not the a-hole. Wait until actual festivities begin. Don't send an engagement announcement, a save the date, or an invitation. Let those planning any festivities know that these two aren't invited and to not give any information to them about any of your events. Engagement party, bridal shower, bachelor parties, ceremony, reception, etc. When it eventually becomes necessary to tell them, be honest. The way you have behaved with the friends and family that will be present at our wedding events, we've decided to not extend an invitation for the two of you. Let them throw their fits and burn whatever bridges they want to burn. If you're on the phone, if you can't be civil, I'm going to have to hang up. Then hang up immediately when they aren't civil. If they're in person, walk away and leave. Their hurt feelings because of consequences of their own actions are not your responsibility. That's a great way to say that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So like, oh, they're crying. Bye.
Yeah, it's like not my fault.
Yeah, cry to someone else. Cry to no one, man.
Yeah. Comment number 2 says, is it normal to tell them that they're not invited? I would have just thought you'd send out the invitations and not send them one. Also, you keep calling Amber his wife, but it sounds like they're not even married. OP responds, they got married last week, but they have not had a wedding yet. Wait, what? They got married last week, so I guess just like elope.
Civil, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And there is an update, but what would your answer be? A-hole or not?
It's for not inviting them?
Yeah.
No, not a-hole. You don't have to invite anyone to your wedding.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that they should tell them or just be a little sneaky?
The only thing that I was, because someone was like, do you even have to tell them? You don't have to tell them. Yeah. You just don't send them an invite, really. But I would say because they might keep asking you. And you could be like, hey, like if it gets to a point where they keep annoying you, you could be like, hey, we're not inviting you because of this, this, and this.
Yeah, I feel like they should tell them.
Yeah.
I think it would just blow up in another way. Like, I feel like if you're close friends with someone or just friends with someone, then yeah, you don't have to tell them that they're not invited. You just don't send them an invite. Just, by the way, got married. It's a fun little thing. So with people that are only close to us, this person is basically a brother to the fiance.
Yeah.
And they already know that they're engaged. They knew like right away and were already interested in the wedding. So you kind of need to tell them, I think.
Also, are you invited to their wedding?
Yeah. That's a good point. I would guess that they would be if everyone else has had beef with them.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
You might be uninvited for their wedding.
Yeah, maybe. But there is an update.
Woo.
So, sorry to be updating so late. A lot has happened in the past couple weeks. I've decided to update you guys with our decision and reasoning of this decision. So no, John and Amber will not be invited to the wedding, but as of right now, we have decided not to inform them. Our reason for this is because about over a month ago, we had received an invitation to John and Amber's baby shower, not knowing that that was the reason that they got married so quick, and it completely threw my fiance and I into a whole spiral of confusion to why they wouldn't tell us. Oh, interesting. So they're playing the game of like, well, you didn't tell us about that. So
you're pretty dumb. I don't have to tell you anything.
So when we asked why they didn't tell us sooner, John responded with him not wanting either of us to accidentally tell his parents, as he knew that they would not accept Amber being the mother of their grandchild. What a messy situation. Before you ask, yes, he told his parents, and yes, they're happy to have grandkids, but are disappointed that it is with Amber. I ended up getting sick with the flu, so we were not able to come. I even informed Amber that I was sick, and she had the audacity to ask if I would just wear a mask and get up for a day.
With the flu?
With the flu? Especially if it's like the stomach flu.
Yeah.
It's
no,
like,
thank you.
Sir.
Why would you even? I don't understand when people are like, just come sick. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Stay as far away from me when you're sick.
Yeah. I feel like I wouldn't mind if someone just has like a light cold, like maybe a cough or like a sore throat. It's like, whatever. Yeah. But if you're like in bed with the flu, it's like, girl, rest.
Yeah. See, I'm a little stricter.
No, that's fair.
If you have a cough or a little cold, stay away from me.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. And then the thing is, I feel like most people don't have, like, I'm like, oh, I can't go near you. I have a little cough. And they're like, no, it's fine. I'm like, sorry. I'm not going to have the same standards when you're sick. And I'm apologize.
Just letting you know now. I told her no, as I did not want to risk getting not only her sick, but everyone else they're sick. Yeah. Also, So literally Amber's pregnant. I wouldn't want to get a
I
pregnant
want to
woman
get
sick.
the flu. Yeah, when
Yeah.
I'm pregnant.
She tried to pull the whole, but it's my day.
Yeah, and you should not be sick on your day.
Exactly. Until I told her that I have been sick with the flu for the past couple of days, and even though I'm taking medicine, I cannot guarantee that I'll not be contagious by the time of the shower. She finally understood and told me to get better. And you know how you could get better? By watching and listening to full episodes with stories just like these on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio. Just search up OK Storytime.
Do it.
There's a little bit more. A couple of days ago, Amber gave birth to a baby boy, and he is healthy and truly loved.
That's nice.
We came to the decision this past weekend and decided that we will not tell them about not being invited due to John not having any more family members and friends to support him. Yes, we know it is his fault, but he literally has no one. So we said we will find a better time to let them know, but as of right now, we have not said anything and are keeping it quiet. All right, and that's the end of that story.
There you go.
I finally escaped my cruel aunt that tormented my family for years. My revenge cost her $300,000.
Oh my, what?
Wowza.
Is your aunt a ghost?
What?
Who was haunting you?
Dealt with my crappy, manipulative, abusive aunt all my life, and I finally got revenge.
Vengeance.
Players: myself, male, late 30s, sister, 3 years younger, aunt, older sister to my mother. My sister, in quotes. Mother, single mom, adopted, no blood relation to my aunt. Okay, that's fine. Cousins, 3 total, 1 male, 2 female. I have good relationships with them now, mostly. By the way, this comes from Lime Jerry, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit, please. My estranged father, who had been living several counties over, was pretty much out of the picture by the time my parents got their divorce when I was 9. Due to financial hardship, we were forced to live with my aunt and the nightmare of a household we would soon find ourselves in. My aunt married into Georgia wealth, and you can figure out what that means on your own. She had 3 kids and eventually caught her husband having an affair. Oh no! It's a huge scandal. She gets the house, the kids, and a fat payout from the family attorney. This is important because my aunt didn't do a dang thing in her life to earn her money, her house, her lifestyle, or basically anything. She was born poor along with my mom. Under her household, she was wasted with power. Years of therapy have allowed me to recognize that certain people, when in a position of power, get a perverse pleasure in ordering others to do their bidding. She was the strictest of authoritarians in every possible way you can imagine. Chores had to be completed by an exact specific time, vacuuming by 3:45 p.m., dishes by 3:55 p.m. Dang. Laundry days for my mother, us kids, were Tuesday, Thursday, 3:35 p.m. to 7:55 p.m.
That's a lot of laundry.
Oh my goodness.
That's a lot of laundry.
A lot of laundry. If it was still running, she would shut the power off for the 2 units. As we grew older, our own kids opted to stay with their father for full-time custody, and she had them on the weekends. Even they couldn't stand her when she was in charge and in the house. As time passed, she got them less and less, opting for alternating weekends as high school activities took precedence over the time with mother. For my sister and I, the large 6-bedroom house was not ours for the taking. My mom had to pay rent as well as rent for a 1-bedroom as that was all she could afford on her salary. We had to share a bedroom until my 2nd year of high school. All the while, there was 1 spare, unused bedroom available at all times. My aunt needed this for guests when they stayed over. Not 1 guest stayed there in the 10 years I was under that roof.
You
The
were
10
come
years.
on. What is this?
Yeah,
You're
basically-
entertaining guests?
Yeah.
They're not here. What are they? Spirits?
Finally, the church we attended told my aunt to give up the spare bedroom so my sister can have her own room, as it was unhealthy for 2 teenagers sharing a room together like that. That infuriated my aunt because someone told her what to do in her own household. My sister and I got the burn of wrath. As my mom's salary was tapped out, my sister and I had to do extra chores like mowing the lawn, trimming the shrubs, cleaning the pool, which we no longer use, without her being outside watching us. My aunt's behavior was becoming more and more outrageous and disconnected from society. For example, she had always snapped her fingers when she wanted to get someone's attention, but it was getting far more frequent, and she would blow up into a tirade if either my sister and I didn't obey. Her own kids tried repeatedly to tell her that the crap she was doing was wrong, but she wouldn't listen. Eventually, they wanted nothing to do with her outside of the home. She was a tyrant there, and repeated intervention to get her to see the folly of her ways would fall on deaf ears. I snapped. All through high school, I had no confidence as a person. I was weak-willed and growing ever distant from friends and society. I say this in all truthfulness and fear that had circumstances continued the way they had been going, I could very well have been in danger to myself or others. It was that bad.
Oh my goodness.
Yikes. Oh man. I had just graduated high school and started my first semester of community college. I'm 2 weeks into my classes attending from home when my aunt drops a bomb on me. You owe me money for this month's rent, the same amount for next month's rent as well. It is the 27th after all. You're an adult now. You're out of high school and working now, so you need to pay rent.
What?
The F I blew an effing gasket as I yelled back. You can't just suddenly decide to charge me rent just because you feel like it.
Yeah.
I need a 30 days notice. I have rights. Good for you, OP.
Correct.
You
It's
do.
like, yeah, if you want to pull the you're 18 now, it's like, yeah, I'm an adult, so you can't do this to me. You're breaking the rules.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm paying rent and you're my landlord, you're not making me pay rent right, doofus.
Yeah, get a contract if you want it so bad. My aunt yelled at me some BS excuse that just had that she had discussed this with my mother, and it was decided that I needed to pay my own rent now. In some miraculous backbone move, of which I still have no idea how I stood up to her, I yelled right back at her, if I'm an adult, then treat me like it and talk to me about rental agreements. I'll start paying you rent in 30 days starting the 1st.
Yes.
Boom. Good for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huzzah.
I turned my back to her and walked away with my fists balled tight. I was furious with anger, but I walked away. My aunt saw my fists from behind and screamed bloody muck duck. Anyone know that reference? There we go. That I was going to attack her. But no, I wasn't. She snapped her fingers at me repeatedly on my tail to get my attention. But I didn't turn around. I needed to cool off and clear my head. As I turned the corner, she grabbed my wrist hard, yelling, I'm not finished talking to you. I threw my still balled up fist forward, keeping with my stride to break her grip as I hadn't stopped my momentum. This caused her grabbing arm to slam hard into the corner of the wall that I had just turned into. She screamed in pain, but I left the house and took off.
Oh, looks like you effed around and you found out, dude.
Yeah,
Crazy.
dude, that was literally on you.
No, this person that I was grabbing and trying to detain, they resisted, and now my arm hurts.
Oh, you poor thing. The aftermath of that incident was that my aunt called the cops on me in an attempt to press charges. She was taken to the hospital and suffered a fractured wrist. Whoa. And she was put in a cast and sling. Don't know, as I never saw it and never inquired further. Her story changed every time she told the cops what happened, while my story was spot on every time. There you go. That's how you do it. I can still recall that moment down to the smell in the house, where I was facing, the working and non-working light bulbs, etc. Forever ingrained in me. I was punted out of the house, and I couldn't visit my sister or my mom there at the house again. Fine by me, as I didn't want to see my witch aunt ever again. I was happy to meet my mother and sister at the local diner or outlet. We could be ourselves there, not hostages in our own home. Years later, my mom wised up and got out of the relationship with her sister and moved out on her own. Whoop, whoop. Good job. Good job. She got a temporary nice place, invested wisely, and with the help from the church, got help getting a place of her own. In 2009, after the housing crisis, she bought her own place that she could never have afforded on her own prior to the market crash. but some good came out of it. She wept knowing my sister and her family and myself can come visit anytime and stay. Over the years, I've been able to forgive my aunt. Not forget, but forgive. I've let go a lot of my anger and hatred towards her that she put me through. When she has no leverage or control over us, she's a somewhat decent person for being a total witch of a person. My cousins have calmed down, heard my side of what happened those years ago, and know what kind of person I am compared to what kind of person their mother is. They chose to believe me and know I didn't hit her or strike her or beat her across the face like she continues to claim.
Which is crazy. You grabbed somebody and then now you want to play the, it wasn't me, it was her.
Exactly.
It was you.
Yeah,
you did this.
She's the one that made it physical.
You did this. You did this.
And now for the revenge. While I have been able to forgive my aunt for what she has done to me, I cannot forgive her for what she did to my mother. Kept her in financial hardship for a decade while she sat on a bank account full of cash and assets. Or what she did to my sister. Forced her to pay for damages because the water heater burst while my aunt and mother was away one weekend, leaving my sister at home. She didn't discover the flooded rooms for hours. My aunt's reasoning, it was her responsibility to watch the house, not the responsibility of the homeowner to maintain or replace the water heater before it goes. Let's leave that upfront $5,000 financial burden before the flood insurance punts in on a 16-year-old girl. I've had little to no contact with my aunt since I was punted out of the house nearly 2 decades ago, but I do keep in constant contact with my cousins. While I'm not going to divulge what I do for a living, I can say that I work with and for the government. I've worked my butt off getting to where I'm at today. I'm known for being truthful, wise, and giving good advice when asked. Because of this, I often talk financially with all my cousins, all of whom are money smart and doing well for themselves. They often then relay this information to their scheming mother, who has no mind for business and investment. All that money she got from her house sale, her divorce settlement, her previous investments is pretty much gone. I spent years planning on the perfect trap, and it took a long time to prepare everything to make sure that everything appeared right. I am not a lawyer, and I don't pretend to know the law, but I do know the regulations and laws pertaining to insider information. This is not that. 100% certain of it, and if I ever go to court, I know my lawyer has a solid case in my defense. But is this a gray area? Most definitely. I let slip to my cousins about some future real estate plans near my aunt's new area of living. It may be worth a lot more because of future development taking place in the area. All of that was true and backed up by what was in the newspaper and new construction signs that newly appeared on Google Maps at the time. The rest was fabricated by myself, backed up by actual information I looked up on real estate websites and on projects I was working on through my work. The telephone game takes place, and a few weeks later, I presume, my aunt starts making phone calls to real estate agents trying to buy lots of land in the undeveloped, crappy area of her new house. Over the course of a few months to a half a year, she spends $300,000 of her last remaining savings on land, hoping it will pay out when the area around it gets developed in the upcoming years. Only HUD Government City doesn't have any plans to develop in those immediate areas. Ooh, she did not do her research.
You don't know what you're doing.
Ooh. In fact, analysis showed that building in those areas was poor planning and would cost the taxpayers 2 to 3 times as much as the land was not environmentally sound. It was best to build 6 miles away. This post was long overdue because it's been over 2 years since my aunt purchased the land that is basically worthless. See, she won't sell the land unless she gets at least the same price she paid for because she's the owner of that land. Can't tell her what to do on her own land. Sweet karma strikes in a way I couldn't possibly have foreseen.
Yeah, I certainly did not
Not
foresee
at all.
that being $300K, just buying trash land that no one wants to buy yet.
What's that line? Like, your enemies will defeat themselves before they get the chance to swing. Or before you get the chance.
It's like you never stop your enemy when they're defeating themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Like, never tell your opponent they're making mistakes.
You know what's never, ever a mistake? Going to your favorite podcast app.
That's right.
Either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you choose. And searching OK Storytime. Because guess what? We have more episodes with stories just like this one.
Full
Waiting
episodes
for you.
made out of stories like this.
Yeah.
Mwah.
My cousin informed me that the value of the land has decreased significantly because it's not environmentally sound to build anything commercial there, but it's zoned for commercial use. Currently, 3 of the 4 blocks of land she purchased are just Devil's Lettuce farms next to eyesore abandoned buildings or industrial complexes. Nobody can build on it, and nor does anyone want to buy it. To be her. Best part is my cousins have absolutely no idea that I set them up for their mother to take the fall. These environmental results are relatively new and the perfect cover to say why the project changed locations 6 miles away. Edit on July 6th, 2020. Note there seems to be some confusion as to my cousins being cheated out of their inheritance. Their father and his side of the family is still extremely wealthy, and each of my cousins are money-wise and financially independent. Yes, there's more to this story, but none I can confirm or follow up on at this time. And that is the end of that story. Wow. That was a wild one.
That was quite a journey that we went on together.
It really, really was.
A wild ride, so to speak.
I'm glad that she just, that's just the best thing to do. Just sit back. They'll figure it out themselves.
You let the trash take itself out.
Exactly.
Sometimes you let your enemies defeat themselves.
Yes. My best friend mocked my disabled uncle, so I told her to leave. Originally posted on Am I the A-hole, but someone said to post it here. Yes, good job. I hope it fits. I, 17 female, live in a multi-generational home. It's my grandmother. My grandfather passed away 10 years ago, her children, and her children's children. There are 13 of us, all in a big old house. This comes from Specialist Wedding 75, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, my uncle, 45 male, is autistic, has PTSD, and has been through some crap in his life. We will call him Bruno for the remainder of this post because he looks and acts quite like Bruno from Encanto. He is also the youngest of his siblings, so it fits. As stated, Bruno has been through a lot. I don't know everything that happened to him, but it's not good. I'll say that. As a result, Bruno's hands shake all the time. He can get shaky all over his body, but it's mainly in his hands. When he was first diagnosed, it was so bad that he could not type on a computer or walk when it was in his legs. As you can imagine, the shakiness could make eating or doing other basic necessities difficult. I remember once he left the dinner table because he was so frustrated at not being able to use the utensils. Before anyone asks, yes, Bruno has tried the utensils for tremors, but he still had trouble scooping with those. I think my grandmother, his mother, had a talk with him because the next night she fed him. No one said anything and Bruno looked kind of embarrassed. Like I stated, Bruno has PTSD and this shakiness is related to his PTSD. There's nothing physically wrong with him, it's all mental. Dang, that's intense.
That is pretty intense.
Over the past 8 years or so, Bruno has gone to therapy and his shakiness has gone better. Most days he can feed himself and is a fully functioning adult. Still, there are days where it gets bad. When it gets bad, we all help him. That's what family does.
Yeah, especially when you got 13 people there.
Dude,
that must be a pretty good time.
Plenty of help to go around.
Oh, yeah.
Last week, Bruno had a very bad. His hands were shaking so bad that he could not work on his laptop. As you can imagine, he would have had a hard time feeding himself. My youngest brother, 6, asked him if he was having a bad day with his hands after he dropped a gallon of milk. Bruno said, "Yeah, kiddo, Uncle Bruno's having a pretty rough day." Brother, "Can I help?" "No, baby, I'll be okay." "Okay." Later that day, right before dinner, my brother asked our mother if he could help feed Bruno. My mother said that was a Bruno question. Brother said, "Tio Bruno." Bruno, who was watching TV with most of the family on the couch, "Why are you harassing me, child?" Yes, this is my uncle's sense of humor. Brother, "I'm gonna help feed you tonight." Bruno, "No, can I or may I or anything like that." Brother, giggles and shakes his head. Bruno, whatever you say, kiddo. This was the same night that my friend was going to eat with us and hang out with me. When we have guests over, we don't change anything. We've gotten a couple of weird looks, but most people keep their mouths shut or realize what's going on quickly, or it's been explained beforehand. I had even told this friend about my uncle before she came over for the first time. She has been over a few times for dinner, but Bruno had not needed help those times. I think she thought I was exaggerating. So as I said, my little brother wanted to help feed Bruno for dinner. Mostly my grandmother fed him, but my little brother fed him a few bites here and there. After dinner, Bruno gave the little brother a hug and said that he appreciated him.
Aww.
That's so cute.
I love this.
Oh. My friend and I went to my room after dinner. She immediately started on me, asking what was wrong with my uncle. Me, I told you he needs help eating sometimes. My friend said something along the lines that it was messed up that we feed him like a baby and that we force the baby to feed him.
What?
Girl, what?
What does that even mean?
That is so not what happened.
Like, you just don't understand. You don't understand. Hopefully you say that comment out of a place of not understanding, and then you'll get understood, and then you'll stay understanding, and then you will forever be understand.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
Me? Whoa, hold up. What are you talking about? She restated that she thought that we were treating Bruno like a baby. She brought up that there were utensils for tremors and that there's no reason he can't feed himself, and that it was so messed up. She threw around words like infantilization and parentification. I don't really think she knows what those words mean or how extreme the accusation is.
Dude, you gotta live a day in the house to really understand what's going on. You can't just throw things around like that. Can't do that. Like, what? You don't think they know? You don't think they'd try to choose all the methods that they could have thought about?
Right. Yes.
You ever think about wearing shoes when you go outside?
Like, what if I just wanted to be barefoot? I want to feel the ground in my toes.
Come on, like, what are we...
Yeah, come on, girl. I asked her to calm down so that we could talk about this rationally. I was already getting angry, but thought that there was just a misunderstanding, and after an explanation, she would understand better. I don't even remember what she said that was the final straw, but eventually I said, that's enough. I won't stand here and let you disrespect my family like that. My uncle is effing disabled if you're too dense to tell, and if you would have just calmed down for 2 seconds, I could have explained that little brother wanted to help feed Bruno. If you would get your head out of your A, you would realize that it was mainly my grandmother who fed him. This was after a good 15 minutes of her berating me and my family and me trying to get her to calm down. Wow, you go, OP. Tell her off. Dang. Wow. She called me a liar and I told her to get out of my grandmother's house. Get out! She tried to say no, but I said that she was leaving because she had disrespected my family. I told her that if she wants to talk about this like a rational people later, then we can, but not right now. I told her to get out or else I would get my grandmother. Now, my grandmother is not a woman that you mess with. So she left.
All right. How could you say to your friend, no, I'm not getting out? How do they tell you to leave?
Dude.
What? How does that?
I don't know,
work?
man. This person is probably just like too sucked into TikTok and is just like, learning about these things from a lot of people who have very extreme opinions and is just applying that to this situation.
I see.
And it's just like, no, I actually know better than you who lives in this house and knows your uncle. I actually know better from having a few meals at your house. Sorry, just how it works. Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. Later that night, she texted me that I hurt her feelings. I said that I did not care about her hurt feelings when she was accusing my family of horrible things and made fun of my uncle. Like, seriously, this girl thinks that she can come into my grandmother's house, make fun of my uncle, accuse us of my uncle and little brother. Then she thinks that I will care about her feelings. Let's just say we are no longer friends. I will not stand someone in my life that is going to make fun of my family members and make wild accusations.
Yeah.
And there are some comments. Do you have any quick comments before we read these?
Are we still being friends or not after this?
Well, it seems like she can't talk about it, so I guess not.
True.
And she's given her the chance to have a normal conversation, but she's not taking it.
Also, what kind of person is this? How is this like a friend?
Dude.
How do we get to this point?
I don't know. Maybe
they are in high school though.
That's what it's.
And high schoolers are
seems
stupid.
Like. Yeah. That seems like it. It's true.
That does not give the excuse.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't let it happen and excuse it. But she probably saw the Gypsy Rose Blanchard documentary too and was like, I have to save him.
It went crazy.
But it's like, girl, you can not jump to conclusions. How about that? Ever thought of that? Yeah, I didn't think so. But there are some comments. Comment number 1 says, your uncle is a lucky man to have his family who loves and cares for him deeply. You and your family are helping when needed, which there is no shame in that. All I see here is a loving family take care of its members. Any fool who says otherwise should be ignored and obviously unfriended, since they don't understand what it is to be a real loving family. And we do have an update. Oh! So I'm pissed. The bee strikes again.
How?
The day after I made my original post, one of my grandma's friends came to her saying that my ex-friend, who we'll call B for now, was gossiping about our family around school, and her granddaughter heard about it. She's telling the whole school?
I thought that was going to happen.
She's telling the whole school?
I was about to say something earlier. Rumors are going to go around. Things are going to happen. I thought so.
B was saying things like how my family is creepy and my uncle is creepy. Like I predicted, most of the kids shut her down at school. Okay.
All right.
Okay, let's
go.
I thought that I could keep what happened between B and me to myself, despite what was happening at school. Unfortunately, my grandma asked if I knew what was happening. I cannot lie to my grandma, and I told her everything. She was proud of me for standing up for my uncle, but she said that if something like this ever happens again, to tell. We decided to tell my uncle what was going on. While it's childish rumors, we want him to know. Bruno did not care too much. He said, all teenagers are evil aside from you guys. That's why I taught elementary school. Thanks, Uncle Bruno. Now to get into the meat of the story. One of my cousins, 20 male, is getting married. We'll go ahead and keep the Encanto names and call him Isa. Isa asked Bruno to be a groomsman. They had already been suit shopping for all of the groomsmen. My uncle wanted something to wear at the reception. In his words, I'm not going to be stuck in a burgundy penguin suit all day. My cousin said that he could wear something different. I offered to go shopping with him to find something that he could wear. That man does not have anything fashionable to wear. We went clothes shopping at the local mall. Our mission, to find something appropriate for Bruno to wear to a wedding reception without buttons. Now, there was a fork in the road for our mission that we did not know about at the time. B had told her dad something about Bruno, freaking her out. Once again, something about him being creepy. I don't think she said anything physical happened between them, but I think her dad took it that way. Back to that in a sec. My uncle and I went to a couple of stores but did not find anything that would work. We then went to get some lunch, Chinese, and then went back to shopping. We found something that would work. It was a nice purple shirt with a few buttons on top. He bought it, then went to a different store. We were the only people there for a couple of minutes before we heard someone shout my uncle's name. Bruno does not do too well with loud noises and hates it when people yell at him. He flinched, but we both looked towards the direction of the shouting. I recognized him as B's dad. He looked pissed and was coming right up to us. My uncle stepped between B's dad and me. My uncle asked who he was. B's dad, like heck you don't know. Bruno, no, I do not. Would you tell me your name? My uncle almost sounded like he was talking to a child. Nice. Bella's dad says his name. Bella's dad. Or Bella's, B's dad. I don't know why I put Bella there. Bruno, that's your friend, right? I nodded. B's dad, don't play stupid. You know exactly who she is. Bruno was starting to shake because he was being yelled at. He kept his composure even as B's dad started accusing him of some awful things. Now, I don't remember exactly what was said as I was starting to get scared. Logically, I knew that nothing was going to happen as B is 18 and she and Bruno had never been in a room alone together. It was still terrifying to have those accusations thrown around. Bruno, sir, I can assure you that nothing like that has happened. This is a misunderstanding that we can talk about. We can get Bobby, Bruno's friend and resource officer for the school district, to mediate if you want.
Dang, he's going right to the solution.
Yeah, I guess so.
As everyone should.
Right.
He's like, this is what we need to do now.
Yeah.
As everyone should.
Yeah.
Don't play games.
Absolutely. At this point, all of the yelling had attracted the manager of the store. Manager, what seems to be the problem here? Bruno, there's just been a misunderstanding. Everything happened so fast. 1. B's dad hit Bruno across the face while screaming. There ain't been no misunderstanding. 2, I grabbed my uncle's shoulders to try and steady him and pull him away while shouting, what the F is wrong with you? 3, B's dad grabbed him by the collar and got right in his face, screaming something. I let go of Bruno because there was no way to get him away from this insane person without hurting him. The manager called security and the police. Thankfully, this made B's dad drop Bruno and he tried to run off. By the time everything calmed down, Bruno was sitting with his back to the shelves and knees to his chest. He was having a panic attack, which had not happened in a long time. Before the police showed up, I was able to get Bruno mostly calmed down. The officer took everyone's statements. I explained to the officer that Bruno was autistic and was not up for talking right now. All the officer asked was if he wanted to press charges. Bruno nodded. Oh, good.
As
good.
he should.
Absolutely. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. I ended up having to call Bruno's brother to help as Bruno could hardly walk. He was shaking so bad. We have a trial date, and with all the evidence, hopefully B's dad will be locked away for a while. For people who will ask, yes, Bruno is okay now. It's been nearly a month. For a couple of days, he was pretty scared and shaky. I won't go into detail as he does not want me to, but he is all right now. He just wants the whole thing to be over. B claims that she never made any accusations to her father against Bruno. She avoided the question as to why her father thought that anything happened. I'll be happy to answer any questions. There are some comments.
She might be lying too.
Probably.
I don't know. I mean,
Well,
I understand that if a kid won't answer, like, he was just creepy, and then, you know, your thoughts get a hold of you. I don't know. I don't. This person.
yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, because I can see, like, if even if it was a misunderstanding with B and her dad, like, you know, maybe she was like being stupid and just being like, yeah, he's like so creepy,
Yeah.
and like maybe making some things up, or I don't know, just to make it sound worse so that she would be, I don't know, but even if there was a misunderstanding and she didn't even mean it to be like that he did anything, and then the dad took it that way, she should get in the middle of it and be like, no, that's not what I mean. It's not that, you know.
Yeah,
He was just,
yeah.
I just didn't like him because I'm an awful person. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh my
Goodness
gosh.
gracious. Press charges.
So glad that he's doing
What
that.
the heck?
This just kind of reminded me of that one scene in Crazy Stupid Love. where,
Yep.
like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like
We-
no, don't, and it just
Oh
everyone,
my
it
gosh.
just
Love
all
that movie.
explodes.
Yeah.
We watched that together,
Yeah,
right?
we watched that recently, actually. It's
Yep.
good. That was the first time watching. Anyway, we've got some comments. Comment number 1 says, B claims that she never made any accusations to her father against Bruno. Yeah, right. While she may not have said the words, no doubt that she played it up for her old man and he got the wrong message loud and clear. Because of her lies, he's now in some caca. And depending on how lenient or not the judge / magistrate is, he may have a real awkward time of it. OP replied, agreed. How would her dad have even thought that he did something without her hinting at it? And we have another update. Really quick before that update, like that's another thing I'm thinking about now is like, I feel like the dad would ask questions. If she like said like, oh yeah, he was being really creepy, he'd be like, how?
Yeah.
And then, you know, have to give him some sort of answer. Like, I'm sure the dad didn't just like, he did something, like just
also
play
the-
up this thing in his head. I don't know.
True that. And it doesn't really seem like this guy thinks
The dad.
the dad
Yeah.
from his past actions.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. I do support him being like protective of his daughter, but absolutely like check your
This
facts.
is not,
Yeah.
this
Check
is not
your
the way to
facts.
do it.
Check
Yeah.
your sources. Yeah.
Absolutely. But there is another update. So we had the trial this past week, 2 days. Not sure how much I can say, so I'm going to be a bit vague. I also was not in the courtroom the whole time as I was a witness and could not see the other testimony, so some of this is coming from Bruno. But first, here's a laugh. My mom was watching a crime documentary about cops using security cameras to solve crimes. Mom, that's cheating! Bruno, walking through the living room to go to the kitchen, confused. What's cheating? Mom, the cops using the cameras. Bruno, well, the criminals are cheating in life, so I think that's okay. I swear I could make a book of Bruno's one-liners. Anyway, on to the BS. The father's main argument was that Bruno assaulted B and he could not be held responsible for his actions as he was protecting his baby from a 45-year-old. Throughout the whole thing, B's dad and his lawyer tried to make B sound a lot younger than she was. She is 18, not a child. This was disputed as Bruno and B have never been in the same room alone and have barely had a conversation before. It also came up that my uncle is not attracted to females and has only been in relationships both romantic and spicy sleep-like with males. In other words, Bruno is gay. Happy Pride. You could see the color drain from B's dad's lawyer's face when this fact was brought
Yeah,
up.
you gotta
Like,
check your
boom.
sources, dude.
Gotcha, man.
He's like, we just lost.
Yeah, it's like,
We lost.
According to Bruno, they knew that they were effed at this point, though he hated his sexuality being on trial. They tried to prove that Bruno was not gay because he had not been in a relationship in 5 years. Sexuality does not have an expiration date, Bruno said. They went through the evidence, which was mainly the police report and footage from the store. When I took the stand, I corroborated that B had never been in the same room alone as Bruno while in our house, as she was always with me, as she was my friend. I also recounted the day of the assault. B was one of the last people to take the stand. She tried to backpedal and said that she felt uncomfortable by my uncle and that he looked at her weird. She was eventually forced to admit that Bruno never touched her or said anything of spicy nature to her. It was amazing to see. The judge said, I'm sorry that you felt uncomfortable by a man with special needs living his life as a man with special needs. I'm sorry that you felt uncomfortable that a man with special needs has to have his needs met and that they are being met. A special needs man living his life and you being uncomfortable about that is not, however, a reason to spread false allegations. Intentional or not, Mr. B's dad, a special needs man being in public is not a reason to assault him, no matter what he may have done. I love that judge. That's what OP said, but I also love that judge. Me as Angie. That's a great.
Yeah, that's a great way to lay it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
And hopefully.
And then countersue.
Yeah. And hopefully the whole school finds out about that.
Ooh.
Post this, print this Reddit
transcript
post out and post it all over the school. Be like Regina George and just like throw the flyers everywhere.
There we go.
And the whole school is gonna be like, what? And then they're gonna start
Pretty much World War III.
Yeah.
There we go.
But just on B. That's it. Poor girl. By the way, I love that judge. You know what I would also love, Riley?
What's that?
I would love it if all of you lovely people would listen to full episodes with more stories just like this one on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever your favorite podcast app is. Just search, okay, Storytime. They're there for you. I would so love it if you did that. But there is a little bit more. Let's jump. At the end, B's dad ended up with a Class A misdemeanor, the most serious misdemeanor as he assaulted a disabled person and caused a public disturbance. He got 3 years in prison and a fine of $4,000.
What?
Whoa.
3 years in prison?
That's crazy. Dude, that'll show this B over here.
Holy
That'll
cow.
show ya. Oh
That's
my God.
wild.
Spread lies one more time.
Try it.
One more time.
Try it,
See
dude.
what happens.
I think you can get more out of this than a civil lawsuit.
Yeah, like
Money. Because this
more money out of
this
it?
is like a criminal lawsuit. I forget the difference, but a civil lawsuit, you can sue for money.
oh wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Worth
That's
looking
what I'm
into.
doing.
Worth looking. That's what you're doing?
That's what I would be looking into.
Oh, I was like, with who? But anyway, B's dad was pissed, but the judge told him, just be happy that you will be out in time to see your daughter graduate university. Dang. So that's the end. I'm happy that we were able to move past this and that this chapter is closed. Bruno is doing fine. He seems much more at ease these past few days and is looking forward to Issa's wedding next month. He is currently teasing his sister about loving Candy Crush in the other room. It's all back to normal. There are some more comments. Comment number 1 says, and this is why pressing charges matters. I would have loved to see the attorney's face when all the lies started unraveling. Comment number 2 says, this is such a good update. The dad got what he deserved. Question, what happened to your ex-friend B? I hope she got some consequences from lying and acting like a brat. OP replied, nothing legally happened. She technically did not lie under oath, so there is nothing legal that could have been done. As far as I know, she is leaving the state to go to university. Good riddance. Comment number 3 says, and all of this could have been avoided if B hadn't talked about Bruno. Exactly. Because why, Keon?
We don't talk about Bruno.
We don't talk about Bruno. She didn't get the message.
My uncle crossed the line, so my father tricked him into getting arrested.
Not today, uncle.
My uncle has always been a self-righteous, petty slimeball with a foul temper and grandiose idea of his own importance, but little to no brains.
Tough combination.
Tough combination. My dad always just took it and tried to keep the peace because family is so important to him. This is the story of how my uncle finally pushed my dad too far. He ended up getting arrested for his trouble. It is pretty long since it covers several months of a feud between them. By the way, this comes from Chapter 8 FF, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to r/OKStorytime on our subreddit. So, as background, my dad and my uncle are neighbors in a rural community of 600-ish people. My dad built the house my uncle lives in and sold it along with a small plot. So my dad's remaining land is about 6 acres and runs alongside in the back of my uncle's smaller property. Well, my uncle is a dealer for HVAC units. My dad is in the HVAC business and would buy some things from his brother. Those brothers' prices were higher and he had more limited inventory than other dealers in order to help a brother out. My dad also rented a building his brother owned and used it as his shop/office. He only rented the building and parking lot, but in the field out behind the shop, my uncle and my dad both would collect old HVAC units. These things are rusty and all around fugly.
Ugh.
But when they didn't have anything else to do, they could go get one of these old units to break down for scrap. This story starts when one day my dad went to his brother and said he needed a certain unit, but his brother quoted him a really high price and also couldn't deliver in the time frame my dad needed. So my dad called up another dealer he works with, and that guy had a unit on hand to give him a much lower price. A no-brainer. My uncle found out about this somehow. Dudes in the HVAC business and they gossip like teenage girls, and confronted my dad, basically giving an ultimatum that if my dad wouldn't commit to buying 100% of his units from my uncle, then my uncle wouldn't sell him anything. I already told you my uncle is an so my dad didn't say anything to his brother, but he took him at his word and stopped buying anything from him. A month or so later, my uncle showed up at my dad's shop and confronted him again, wanting to know why my dad hadn't ordered anything from him that month. Maybe because you asked for it. My dad told him, and my uncle exploded. They apparently had a screaming match, and in the end, my uncle announced that my dad was no longer his brother. They were no longer doing business together, and my dad was evicted from his shop.
All right. Well,
I feel like it's a little bit of a...
This is a standoff.
Yeah, a little standoff. I will note that legally, my dad was not evicted, because evicting him would require a legal notice, a certain period of time, etc. But my dad was over it. So he said fine and began converting the barn at his house into his new shop. So my uncle, who apparently had thought my dad would not call his bluff, showed back up at the shop a few days later and informed my dad that he also has to move all of the old HVAC units scattered around in the field behind his property, or he would sue my dad for cost of removal. Brother's now trying to sue.
Where do you get off, partner?
Yeah. I think you
Come
should
on now.
get off right now. Maybe in the bathroom at your own place.
Oh.
Go get off there.
Oh,
Spell some energy, my friend.
Yoinks.
I don't want you jacking around over here.
Stop yee-hawing all over the place.
Yeah, stop yanking your hog where it don't belong.
There's a snake in my boot, except it's not in the boot.
Now, this too probably had no legal power since my dad's lease was only on the building, not the field, and my uncle contributed and used the old units as communal property. But when my dad is pissed off, he is really pissed off. So he agreed to move the old units. He took his tractor over, loaded each one onto his flatbed trailer, drove out behind his barn, and painstakingly arranged hundreds of rust bucket, fugly old HVAC units an inch or two off the property line at the back of my uncle's house. He's playing the petty game.
It's the equivalent of doing the payment in pennies,
Yeah.
except each penny is a
HVAC
giant
unit.
honking rusty AC unit.
Note that my dad could not see these things from his house due to the way his property is set up, but my uncle had an HD view of them in his backyard. My uncle started being even more of a creep than usual and was always spying on my dad's house. So my dad decided to build a privacy fence down the side of his property that runs along my uncle's property, but not the back of the property where the HVAC units are. The fence guys arrived and worked for a few hours before my uncle came screeching into his driveway and exploded out of his truck, already screaming because these poor fence guys had laid posts or tools or whatever temporarily on his side of the property line as they were building the fence. My uncle called the police. Oh, Uncle, what are you doing? Who basically told the fence guys, okay, dudes, just don't put anything on this crazy man's property, and left. The next day, apparently, someone left a hammer across the property line. So here comes my uncle screaming at them again. He called the police again, but by the time they got there, the guy had already moved his hammer, so the police were just annoyed by this point, but could only warn them not to do it again. Later that afternoon, my uncle called the police a third time. This uncle will not stop calling the police.
Bro is addicted.
I think he's lonely. He's like, 911, is there an emergency? yeah, like, I just need someone to talk to.
I'm a lonely Lone Ranger.
You know, it gets lonesome on those roads with nothing but your horse.
Out there in those amber waves of grain.
Yeah, you know, all
versus the dirt.
Yeah.
The soil.
And the soil ain't talking back. It's a great listener, but
and fields of rusty air conditioners.
As far as the eye can see.
That's right.
Later that afternoon, my uncle called the police a third time. I kid you not. This time, he wanted to report that my dad had stolen a backhoe from him, like one that attaches to the back of a tractor. One that, again, I kid you not, my uncle had given to my dad 2 whole years prior because my uncle didn't even have a tractor big enough to attach the thing to. The cop was not amused when this story came to light. And since it was the same cop who had been there earlier that day, she was beyond annoyed at that point. My dad helpfully said, "Come get the backhoe if you want it," knowing full well my uncle had no way to pick the thing up or haul it even the few feet to his own yard. My uncle replied that my dad was just trying to trap him and would say he was trespassing if my uncle came onto his land, even though the cop was standing right there when my dad offered. And by the way, this conversation was taking place in my dad's driveway. So who the heck is trespassing now?
Who's trespassing on
Who's and passing. He then said he wanted to file a complaint with the police that basically amounts to a restraining order against my dad. It isn't a restraining order because it isn't issued by a judge, but the cops treat it that way. It's for habitual trespassers. Annoyed cop helpfully informed my dad that this would mean that even if my uncle texted or emailed him and invited him to come over to his house to discuss things, even if my dad had that written proof he'd been invited, if my uncle called the cops or even took a picture of my dad on his property, he could potentially get arrested for trespassing. My dad said he wanted to file one against his brother too. All out war.
Bro, it's Uncle V Dad.
Uncle
today.
V Dad. Yeah, they're not one and the same, you know?
No. They are two separate individuals.
Yeah. But this Uncle Dad war, it just doesn't stop. They're just escalating. It's like North Korea and America with their nukes. The pro-revenge part of the story is now upon us. My dad knew full well that his brother had no real clue where the property lines were and was not going to dig up his survey to check. He only knew where the lines were because my dad knows exactly where they are and maintains wooden stobs in the ground periodically along his property lines. So when his brother was away for a few days, my dad moved all the old HVAC units along the property line over further onto his own property by a few feet and moved the stobs back the same distance. So basically it looked the same as before, except it looked like the property line was a few feet further back than it actually is. He then placed some random piece of scrap across the fake property line. So he's moving the HVAC into his own property line.
Yeah.
So that when the brother is like, "Oh my God, there's a hammer on my property line," calls the police, the hammer will actually be in OP's property line. And then the brother, it's like a little trap. The brother will get in trouble from the police.
Wow.
Still on his own property, but it looked like it was across the property line if you had to go by where the incorrectly placed stobs were and set up a few game cameras aimed at the line and waited. Sure enough, his dumb butt brother came storming out of his house as soon as he noticed this scrap on his side of the property line, crossed the real property line to get a good look at the scrap and called the police. My dad was waiting for them with his survey showing where the actual property line is and a copy of the report the annoyed cop had given him and the game camera footage of his brother clearly trespassing on his land. And it was my uncle who got arrested. Hats off to you, partner. My God.
Wow.
My God. Wowzers.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is. I mean, there's more to the story, John. There's more. There might be more booby traps in the
just
fields.
The beginning.
The only way his revenge for all the trouble and heartache his brother caused could possibly have been any sweeter if it were an annoyed cop who showed up at the scene and arrested my uncle. But alas, he had to make do with someone he and his brother had both gone to high school with. That's almost sweeter.
Wow.
Which worked out since it was especially embarrassing for my uncle to be arrested by someone he knew well and who could make sure everyone else in town knew.
Ooh.
And we got a little edit tab, we got a little update, but dang, I think it's almost like sweeter revenge, more pro revenge that the arrest was made by someone they knew.
I mean, honestly, if there's 600 people in a town, just like literally everything you do can just spread
so
through the
fast.
entire town. Then it's like, well, I don't know if I can live like that.
We got an edit. So nothing really came of my uncle's arrest, or at least not that my dad has heard about. And he'd hear about it since it's a town of 600-ish people. But it was probably enough for my uncle just to have to get put into handcuffs, spend a night in jail, and have people know about it, because my uncle hasn't caused any more trouble for my dad other than generally existing, where my dad occasionally has to see his truck drive by. By the way, you can see us existing by listening to full episodes with stories just like this. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite podcast app and just search OK Story Time. There's another relevant update, but this is some small town drama.
This is crazy. And
I would hate to have that much beef with a neighbor.
With a neighbor who is also
your brother,
your true blood brother. Yeah, I think maybe there is a time to be like, do we want to get Uncle arrested? Do we want to keep going there? You know, and
I don't know how I feel about like going all the way to arrest. But like, question, did this de-escalate the uncle trying to get OP's dad related? Because I think the reason they did the revenge is because the uncle was like, if you stand foot on my property or there's anything on my property, I'm going to get you arrested.
Yeah.
Right? And so really like all OP did is set the trap for when uncle, did something crazy, he would have to pay the consequence instead of OP's dad. So like it was kind of like through the uncle's own obtuseness, the justice came. My uncle is also now in a business dispute with his wife's sister and his brother-in-law, so presumably he is trying to take his anger out on another target who hasn't already beaten him, and also who isn't his older and much larger brother, who has been perfectly willing to beat his booty all their lives whenever it's involved physical disputes. Yes, my family are rednecks. My uncle, aunt, cousin, and my cousin's wife all unfriended me on social media. What? So I only know what is going on with them via small town gossip. My sister was driving down the road recently, saw my uncle in his yard, and waved at him. He turned away like he did not know her. None of us got an announcement when my cousin's wife had a baby recently, so I think the end of the story is just that we are all exiled from the eyes of my uncle and his family, but he is too afraid to do anything besides pretend we don't exist. And that is where that story ends.